Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Wealth, Health, and Self-Care New Year Next Level. I'm so excited, really excited, because we have an amazing lineup of speakers who are going to help you get to your next level based on their experiences. But right now, hopefully you can hear me, you can see me, you have your paper, pen, and everything you need to really receive all this information. And this is also a great time to be networking. Network with the people in the comments, network with the speakers, follow the speakers. Make sure you make the most of your time here by taking away something that you can use to be better than you were yesterday. So I am Charlene Reinhardt, and I am the host of this summit. Make sure you subscribe to the Wealthy Women Daily YouTube channel below so that you can get notified when we have more summits and more opportunities for you to get to the next level on your journey. All right, I am seeing people come in right now. Hi, everybody. Hi, welcome to the Wealth, Health, and Self-Care Summit. Type in the comments, where are you from? Who do we have joining us for this summit? In a few minutes, we are going to kick off with a surprise guest to get you ready for what's ahead. But make sure you are interacting with people in the comments. Interact with our speakers and make the most of this opportunity. There is someone on this summit who needs exactly what you have. But guess what? There's also someone who has what you need right now. So don't forget to take advantage of this opportunity to connect and network, which we'll be talking about later on. So you can know how to network strategically and build your connections so that you can be able to give back to the world in a meaningful way. All right. I see people. I see more people. This is good. This is good. Hi, everybody. Nice to see you. I see some people from Chicago. I see New York and New Jersey in the house. Hey, how you doing? All right. So I'm about to get started. I'm going to give you 10 seconds, and then we are going to kick off our Wealth, Health, and Self-Care Summit. This is going to be so good. I'm so glad you are here. If you had a chance to attend our first Wealth, Health, and Self-Care Summit, you probably remember Dr. Sheniqua Johnson. She helped us kick off the summit with all the healthy essentials, talking about water, walking, and everything else you should be thinking about when you wake up in the morning. Well, I have a surprise for you. Dr. Sheniqua Johnson is back. Yes. How are you, Dr. Sheniqua?
Thank you so much for having me back. I am well. And I am so honored that you asked me to come back and share a little bit more with the wonderful ladies here and a few good men, right? So that we can get this information that we need for the start of the new year.
Yes, we couldn't do this New Year, New You Summit without having you here because you have done some amazing things this year, and I'm so curious about what you plan to take into 2024. But let's start with 2023. What have you been up to this year?
Oh my goodness, 2023 has been a phenomenal year for me. I'm just going to put it out there. I'm going to say it's been phenomenal. I kicked off the year with winning a Holistic Wellness Champion Award. I went on to go to South Africa and Botswana. I won the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. I was able to get a Speaker's Globe for my accolades in speaking. I hit the TEDx stage. I went on to hit more stages, and I traveled all over the world. Like I said, I was in Africa, I was in Maryland, I was in Chicago. I was really all over the place. And the year continued on in that same manner, with getting more speaking engagements, getting on more stages, getting more awards. And I am just totally honored. I even received my honorary doctorate degree in 2023. So when I say that God showed up and showed out, I mean, he did that and then some. So I really have to say that 2023 was phenomenal. It was phenomenal for me.
Did you expect to accomplish all of that? Was that on your vision
No,
board? Did you have a list of goals for 2023?
no,
No. So what do you
no,
think
I
it
did not
was?
have this out on no vision board. I didn't map this out. It wasn't clear. Because you know what, to be honest with you, if I had tried, I wouldn't have been able to get it to look the way it manifested. So God says that he will do exceedingly and abundantly, right? So in my little mind, I didn't even know enough to put this down. I didn't even say, but what I did was I made myself available. And that is literally how I'm planning to approach 2024, is I want to be available. I want to be available. Yes, I want to have a strategic plan on what I'm going to do, what I'm going to accomplish, but I also I don't want me having this strict plan to limit me. I want to be available. So if God says there's a blessing coming around the corner, I want to be able to go around the corner and receive it. So this year, 2024, I'm looking forward to just being available for every opportunity that is coming my way. And I want that to look like more speaking engagements. I want to hit more stages. I want to keep this momentum going from 2023. And I want to make certain that people are feeling inspired after they have an encounter with me.
I love it because you inspire people every week with your YouTube channel. And I know many people have a goal of getting on YouTube, sharing their gifts with the world, and growing their channel. Do you have any tips for people who are just getting started?
Oh, absolutely. The start is what stops most people, right? So we don't want to have that as an excuse. One of my coaches, mentors, has this saying of you start before you're ready. Right. So this year, we're not waiting to get ready. We are starting before we are ready. And what that looks like is that we're putting in the work. So we're not sitting there with our hands crossed. We're not sitting there twiddling our hair, waiting for the magic to occur. What we are going to do is we're going to work while we wait. So if the goal is to grow and to scale and to eventually monetize your YouTube channel, you have to get started. So what will you do while you are starting, while you are waiting until you reach that mark? And I know you can jump steps, you can skip steps, but the beauty of it is the growth. The beauty of it is the journey. So one of the tips that I would give is to tell people to get started. Create the page. In order to watch the video and to hit like on the video, YouTube will already create a page for you. Why not just go ahead and customize it? Why not make it to your liking and then start adding and telling people about your channel? So my channel is Sheniqua Inspires. So you want to hear more about what it is that I'm doing, you can go to my channel, Sheniqua Inspires, and you can check out my podcast, Cicely Sundays podcast, on there. You can check out my podcast, The Black Girl Encourage Her, on there. So there's a number of different things on my YouTube channel, Sheniqua Inspires. But the key is consistency. You got to be consistent and knowing that this is the goal that you have, and you will end up surprising yourself. Because to be honest with you, Charlene, when I started in 2023, at the start of the year, I made this goal that I wanted to increase my subscribers on YouTube. So for the first 3 months, I was committed. That was the plan. That was what was written. I had this plan that I wanted to grow my numbers on YouTube, and I was going to stay consistent for the first quarter of the year. I did that, and surprisingly enough, I grew. Right? My numbers started to increase. And how I did that was by showing up, by consistently putting up my videos, by consistently telling people about my YouTube channel, Sheniqua Inspires. You see what I just did there? I just slid it in there once again, right? So you get to the point where you are so comfortable with telling people about what it is that you're doing. In life, we never want to tell people what we're doing because we feel as though we're bragging. The world has made us believe that if we tell the good news, the good things that are going on with us, that it's considered bragging. It's not considered bragging. It's your branding. So if you're never telling anybody about your book, right? You see, if you never tell anybody about your book, if you never tell anybody about your YouTube channel, how is it going to grow? So consistency is going to be the key. And one of the things when I committed to being consistent, I saw the growth. And you know what? It was that growth that inspired me to keep showing up. So even after the first 3 months, I kept working on it, and it became almost like unconscious. Like you didn't have to think about doing it, because after doing it for 3 months, it became second nature. So I just continued on, and I have to say that I have gained over about 150 subscribers on my YouTube channel for the whole year. Now, some people might hear that and they say, well, that's not really a lot, but it is. It is. And you never understand the value of just one subscriber until you're in that position and you are focused on growing those numbers. You know that every subscription matters. Every new relationship that you start matters, because that's one more person that you have now that you didn't have before, that you get to speak to, that you get to teach, you get to educate them, you get to inspire them. And that person will share, and their light will get lit, and then it continues on and on and on. So if YouTube is your goal, I'm telling you, it's going to be the best journey that you could imagine if you allow yourself to enjoy the process.
Now you see why we had to have Dr. Sheniqua Johnson come back and kick off this summit. Dr. Sheniqua said, we are not waiting to get ready. If you agree with that, type yes in the comments. We are not waiting. New year, new you. If there's something you want to do, guess what? There's somebody out there who has already done it. When I wanted to start using StreamYard to record these videos, guess what? I went to Dr. Sheniqua Johnson to make it happen, right?
Amen.
Don't waste your time. There's somebody in your space. God has blessed you with somebody who can help you get to where you need to go on this journey. Dr. Sheniqua, is there anything else that you want to leave us with as we plan for this new year?
Listen, stop talking about it. That was 2023, when all we did was sit around and talk about it. This year, moving forward, we are doing it, right? We are in the actively working stage. We are no longer on the pause. We are not sitting back and waiting for the manna to drop down. It's there. You just have to go and get it. That's how easy 2024 is going to be. Everything that you need needs you just the same. So you have to have that same fire, that same initiative, and you got to go forward. So if you have these goals that you done put down on a sheet of paper, well, that was just the first step. Now it's time to put the action behind it, because we know what the scripture tells us, that faith without works is dead. So in 2024, baby, it's time to get your feet to the pavement. And that's even while you're waiting. Oh, well, Dr. Sheniqua, I need to get this degree. And when I get this certificate, I'm going to be able to do. So what you doing while you waiting? What you doing? Are you just sitting around twiddling your fingers? The time is now. We are taking action for the new year. And if you need some help with your action plan, do not sit on the sidelines. Open your mouth and tell someone that you trust that you need help. Gone are the days where we're going to sit there and be the lone soldier. As Charlene mentioned, there is somebody that has done what you are trying to do, but you're sitting over there trying to figure it out all by your lonesome because you're so scared that somebody's going to take credit for what it is that your hard work and your effort. No, that was last year. That's played out. That is out of style. In 2024, we are connecting with like-minded individuals, and we are going to bring our purpose to the front of the line, and we are going to leave a fire-filled mark in this world. Because I don't know about you. I don't know if you got any extra months that you've got allotted to you, but we all have the same amount of time. So I plan on using mine to make certain that I'm achieving my goals. No, not just achieving them, that I'm conquering those goals. I am slaying those goals so that I can continue to be available for every new opportunity that comes my way. And I certainly hope you are willing to do the same.
Yes, this is the year to invest in you. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel at Wealthy Women Daily. Make sure you follow Sheniqua on Instagram at Sheniqua Inspires is right there below. If you want any tips on how you can maximize your new year, remember, your year is what you make of it. Mm-hmm. You have to put in the work. And I'm so excited that you are here today because that's taking a step towards the goals, the life that you seek, right? Dr. Sheniqua keeps saying, be consistent, show up, get started. Right here is where you can get started because we have an awesome lineup today, Dr. Sheniqua.
Yes.
I'm so excited to tell everybody what we have going on today.
I am looking forward to it. And because the last summit was fire. So if you missed the last summit, you need to play catch up and you need to make certain that you watch the replay on that. But I am ready. I am in position. I got my notebook ready. I got my pens, not just one pen. I got two pens because I don't want one to fail me. And I am going to be taking notes and writing and connecting. And that's another thing that I did after your last virtual summit. I made the connection. So it's not just being in the room, but it is about gaining the value and keeping it consistently going. So I watch, the Wealthy Women's Daily podcast. You gotta do more than just hit the subscribe button. You gotta watch, you gotta listen, you gotta take notes. You've got to start applying it to your own life. I connected with so many of the speakers and I am gaining value over and over again. So listen, you're here today. Make certain you take notes and connect. Go that extra step. It is about the action. So go that next step and get the resources that these powerful speakers have. So I'm ready, Charlene. I am ready.
Yes. Your network is your net worth. So you are in the right room to be in because we are going to talk about building relationships to get to where you want to go. We are going to talk about building a 7-figure coaching business. One of our speakers did it in her 20s. We're going to talk about your master money plan because you cannot eliminate money from your plan. And then, since we have a long list of things, we also have to talk about self-care. Yes. You need to care for yourself. It can be your soul care, right? What do you need to do to make sure you have everything you need to be your best in the upcoming year? So we are so excited. Dr. Sheniqua, thank you for helping us kick off the Wealth, Health, and Self-Care Summit. Let's go.
Woo! I'm ready. Thank you again.
What are your goals for the new year? Do you want to accumulate a certain amount in your emergency fund? How about building a savings account? Better yet, have you thought about investing? What are you investing in next year so that you can be good today, tomorrow, and the rest of your life? If you have no idea how to get started, we have a free investing challenge for you. Make sure you sign up in the comments so that you can take advantage of our 3-day investing challenge. We are talking about the basics of investing, how you can get started on your journey, and how you can start saving so you can be able to invest. the more you save and invest, the more options you will have in life. So you can get started right now. Go in the comments, sign up. It's free. And the best part is you'll win prizes for taking part in this journey with us. And I'm also giving away a copy of my book, Dividends Are a Queen's Best Friend, which is available on Amazon. So if you're ready to level up, make sure you sign up in the comments. Let's get back to our summit. I'm about to chat with someone that you need to know. If you haven't heard of Megan Rhodes, she is an impressive young woman who's definitely going places. So Megan is a life coach, a pastor, and former pageant queen. She was Miss Nebraska USA, and now she's the founder of Powerhouse Pageantry. But there's so much more that I can share about Megan, but I'm going to let her tell us about her background and how she got started on this journey. Hi, Megan.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here. I'm very excited.
Yeah, so we want to dive into your awesome background. So tell us where you're from and how you got started in pageantry.
Absolutely. I got started in pageantry absolutely by accident. I was a music student in Nashville, Tennessee, pursuing my dreams of being a Christian worship artist and being a PK, a pastor's kid my whole life. We needed scholarship money, and I was really going through a tough crisis. I had gained, definitely the freshman 15, if not more, my freshman year. And I was devastated. I was at a very spiritual, mental, and emotional low. And my whole journey of pageantry actually started when my mom marched me in front of her mirror and told me to look myself in the eyes and tell myself that I was beautiful. And I had such negative thoughts and toxic thoughts at that time that I could not do it. And that resulted in me in the fetal position for 2 hours, crying myself into a nap. Once I woke up, I had a choice to make, as a lot of us do in really tumultuous times in our life. And I decided that I wanted to get over the toxic eating disorder that I had. I had binge eating disorder at the time, and really allow God into that area of my life, allow other people to speak into that area of my life, because a lot of times when we're hurting, we want to isolate and we want to draw back and just kind of deal with it ourselves. And so getting over an eating disorder was a pathway to even having the courage to pursue other goals. I wanted to drop out of college. I wanted to move back home, and I was really close to doing that. And luckily, since Facebook listens to your conversations, I was on Facebook one day in 2013, so 10 years ago now, and I saw the Miss Nebraska before me being crowned, and I felt something speak to my spirit that said that's you next year. You're supposed to do that. And at the time, I didn't even know the difference between Miss USA and Miss America. I was so green. I had done a couple little pageants when I was younger, but taken several years off. And so within less than a year, I was Miss Nebraska, headed to Miss America. And my whole life changed. I was 20, 21 years old when it happened. I was so young. I won on my first try. And I was so honored to get to serve my state that I love. And there's so much more to that story, but that really launched even myself as an entrepreneur, as a speaker. I was able to develop public speaking skills and confidence that I certainly didn't have. I mean, you just heard the story shortly before that. And then after my year of reign, I was able to come back home, and I was working as a broke barista at a coffee shop, completely starting over. And I had this idea I just wanted to serve women. And I was like, I don't know how to do that. And somebody DM'd me and asked me if I was an interview coach. And so I felt peace about that. I said yes. And kind of the rest is history. I literally had a laptop and a dream. I would take Zoom calls, super, super ratchet, from the back of my mom's van at the time. It was so unprofessional 10 years ago. And now we've built a multi, 7-figure empire. I run 5 different companies now, a couple with my husband. I'm in ministry, and I'm just so grateful for all the hard work and the people that I get to do life with, and all the lives that we get to touch every day. So that's the 3-minute version.
Wow. Now, there's so much to unpack, and I want to start with your pageant journey. You didn't know anything about pageants. You dived in. Less than a year later, you won your first pageant. How does that happen, Megan?
Yeah, it's definitely not normal. I mean, I've coached over 350 women now to win their pageants over the last 8 years, and it's not normal. I'm super grateful, but there are definitely things that I didn't know. I was a singer my whole life. And so with my natural singing ability, and I think just like God-given charisma, I suppose. And I have a history in modeling. I'm 6 feet tall. And so I literally just winged it. And by no means do I recommend that whatsoever. But, I had a pretty harsh reality when I got to Miss America. And I thought that I'll just roll in and do this again. I'll just get the top 15, and that's just not what happened. And why I encourage everybody to have coaches, even coaches have coaches. I have coaches and mentors in my life. It's so important because we don't know our true top potential until you're stretched and squeezed and really you can see behind the curtain of what's even next for you. And so for me, I was actually tremendously devastated after Miss America because I just knew I didn't give it my best. I knew that I didn't have the tools in my toolbox. Nebraska is a smaller state. And even though I had wonderful directors who meant well, my charisma actually kind of worked against me in that state because I was so convincing. I was like, I'm ready. I got this. And I kind of pulled the wool over everybody else's eyes on accident, where they're like, oh, she seems confident, like she seems ready, but I was not. And so I think it's really important to assess at every part of our journey. And even after some big wins, like after Miss Nebraska, in hindsight, I wish that I would have done whatever I needed to do to gather the money to pay for the best coaches that could have helped me and just stretch me and challenge me, because I think I could have had a different result at Miss America. But what that's also given me now is on the other side of the seat as a coach is a perspective to tell my clients, like, I promise you don't want to feel this way because you only get one shot at Miss America, Miss USA, whatever pageant that you're competing in. Oftentimes you can only go to nationals once. So you want to make sure that when it is your right time that you're ready.
So what made you go back and compete in additional pageants after your Miss America experience?
Yeah, I wish I would have competed in more. I like I said, I was so new. I didn't know that all these other ones existed. I wish I could have just gotten more experience because I took 7 years off before then I went and won Miss Nebraska USA. And went to Miss USA in 2020. And fun fact, because you may not know this, my little sister, Allie, and myself were actually Miss Nebraska and Miss Nebraska USA during the same year because she had her year extended during the COVID year. So our families went to Miss America and Miss USA within 365 days of each other, which was wild as a family. Because my sister was a 2-time All-American basketball player who never, and I'm talking never, ever touched pageants. So for us to get to share that year together will just be something so incredibly special for us. But for me, I think a lot of pageant competitors you have to have a strong internalized drive. If you want to achieve big things in life, you can't wait for other people to motivate you. You can't wait for other people to tell you that you should or that you can do something. It has to come from within, because otherwise when you're not feeling so emotional towards that thing and that day, like, you have to learn how to take action even when you're not feeling it, and that strong internalized drive and vision is what drove me. And in all reality, no one had ever won Miss Nebraska USA and Miss Nebraska before. And so I wanted to be the first person to do it. I'm just naturally very much like a look at the ground and see what it could be kind of a person. I think that's the entrepreneur in me. And so I just said yes, and I dove in. And actually, if we want to get like real and real serious, if you've listened to my podcast, you'll see that I tell a lot of my story of within those 7 years of not competing and building my business, I went through some really tough things. And one of those things was an abusive relationship that I was in for a year, where a lot of crazy things happen, right? And so one of the things when I was in that abusive situation is he told me that I wasn't allowed to compete for Miss Nebraska USA. And so once I was out of that situation, you better believe I was very motivated to say, you're wrong, and I'm going to do whatever I want to do, right? So that very next year, I won Miss Nebraska USA also on my first go at it. And it was an incredible experience. I loved the USA system. I loved the fact that in Nebraska specifically, we're part of VAMROS, which is a collection of 6 states. And it was like God designed. Actually, my Miss Tennessee just texted me right now. My Miss Tennessee USA, we're just texting right before this. And even though it was the COVID year, it was still just an incredible experience. And I feel like when you do America and USA, or now, volunteers, kind of the Miss America that I competed in, when you do different pageants in general, some of them are more scholarship based, and USA for me was more of like the external. I feel like it like rounded me out, where like Miss America really developed my insides and my platform and my speaking ability. And then Miss USA was like, hey girl, 7 years later, you still don't know how to do your hair and makeup. Like, we should figure this out. And so it forced me to kind of round out that skill set. And now as a coach, I feel like I can just coach anybody because I have both of those kind of worlds that came together. And obviously it was really cool to break some records as the first person to win both, and then get to do all that with my sister too. That was really special.
So after winning both pageants, what did you think about your next move? Like, I just can't imagine that. It's like you won the two major pageants. What's next for a person who does that?
Yeah. Well, what's really beautiful about when your identity is not in your achievements, you're able to appreciate it more. And one thing that we have to coach a lot of our girls in that we coach is to be able to really, really want the goal that you're going for, but also to know that, like, if it doesn't happen for you, like, you're gonna be okay, because your worth is not defined in your achievements. Your worth is, and that's hard because, like, high achievers naturally are drawn to pageants. I'm a high achiever. You're a high achiever, right? We want to get the gold. We want to win. We don't want to get silver. And obviously we don't go into anything to quote unquote lose. But at the end of the day, what is the most attractive quality, if you even study this in psychology, is confidence and the ability to be detached from the result. Like, I work a lot in sales. My other company is called Sales Queen, where we teach women how to sell and scale companies. And one of the biggest rules of sales is to not need the sale, right? So that directly translates to pageants as well, where if you've ever met somebody or you've gone on a date when somebody just like really, really, really likes you and you're kind of not feeling it, right? Like that actually makes us kind of put more distance between that person. And so I was super grateful for my time as Miss Nebraska USA. But after that, I actually ended up meeting my husband during that year. It's the craziest story. Like, I met my husband 3 weeks after Miss USA, during one of the hardest times of my life, during COVID, during a bunch of things. And so after that, I still had my company to come home to, which is such a blessing. And I think it's really important as you're competing in pageants, whether it's your platform or whether it's, you pursuing your career, that you have other things that you are proud of and that you're working on, in addition to just being a pageant person. Like, that's a part of your identity, but it's not all of your identity. And what I've seen from some of my peers and people that I love dearly is that if their only thing that they had vision for was being Miss USA or being Miss America, and it doesn't happen, or heck, even if they get fourth runner up, which is an incredible accomplishment, or top 15, right? Because that was the only thing that they felt like was validating their existence, they have a really hard time after USA, or they go and they gain a bunch of weight, or they cut 14 inches of their hair off, and which sometimes is a great thing, but they make these major life adjustments because it's actually an identity internal issue that needs to be worked on. And that's not me condemning anybody. I mean, we all have our stuff, but I've just observed over the last 10 years where I'm like, hey, if we can prevent that, and we can have you so confident and just solid on who you are and what you bring to the table, regardless of what the result of a pageant is, then no one can take that away from you. And you can continue to charge on and do wonderful things with your life, in addition to being, really, really good at pageants, which is a skill set. So for me, I want to have a couple babies first. I was focused on getting married, which I did about a year and a half later, I suppose. I've been married for, like a year and a half now. And I think one day I'd love to do Mrs. America. That would be really special. After I have my kiddos and stuff, and your husband gets to escort you and everything, which I think is awesome. But right now, and after Miss USA, I was just really focused on building my relationship with the person that I love. And, at the end of the day, growing my business too. And so I'm really grateful for that.
I love it, because you really have to think about your holistic idea of success. It just can't be that one goal. Everything can't be tied to that, because that will just damage you in so many ways.
Yeah.
When I started competing in pageants, I had to realize that either you win or learn. It's not win or lose. It's win or learn, because with each pageant, you are going to take something away that makes you better than you were yesterday. And that's a gift that you take away from the experience. So I'm so glad you talked about that. And let's talk about your 5 different businesses that you mentioned. Can you break down those businesses and how you started each one and why you did it?
Yes, absolutely. Well, if I were to really go in depth with all of them, you can see my little Post-it board over here. I am constantly, making notes and doing different things. we'd be here all day. But my 5 businesses, so Powerhouse Pageantry, which is my baby, the first one that I grew. We have clients in all 50 states, and we have an academy, like year-long mentorship program that you can be a part of. And then we have a Powerhouse Club, which is like a group, great for entry-level competitors as well as veterans, where we really engage in the mindset side of things and community. So that's the higher level is the only way that you can personally mentor with me. And it's so much fun because I just believe we have the best clients ever. My second company is called salesqueen.com. So this is where, like I said, I built a 7-figure business in my 20s through Powerhouse Pageantry. I started with $162 in my pocket and knew nothing about business. I didn't even know what an entrepreneur was until I actually nannied for a family of a previous pageant competitor, actually, which is super cool, in Tennessee. And just asked some questions. Like I legit, my parents were in ministry, you guys. Like I did not have anything handed to me. I did not know anything. I just really love researching stuff, and I just tried until it worked. So I took all that knowledge over the last 7 years, and then I launched salesqueen.com earlier this year, and we help online coaches and consultants scale their coaching businesses, and I teach women how to sell. And then we're coming out with a software next year which will enable women to really take care of a lot of the technical and automation portions of funnel building, and just a lot of the things that specifically, because a lot of my clients are moms, just don't have time for. And then we'll help them hire the right people and those kinds of things to scale their companies. And then the third company is called Christian Young Professionals. And this is a group that we meet here in Nebraska. And then we have an online membership as well, where we bring in amazing 6, 7, and 8-figure leaders and speakers to come speak to us. We eat dinner together once a month and network. It's super fun. We're having a Christmas party at our house next week. And then my husband and I are starting a new project, which I can't reveal yet, but we have another podcast together finally coming out next year, which I'm really, really excited about. Because my husband and I believe, bring a whole new flavor and color together, even though we're both powerful apart. God definitely brought me, my dream man, and we waited a long time to find each other. And when people meet us, they're like, oh gosh, this just makes sense. Wow, you guys are just so much stronger together. So we're really excited. That project will be able to really disciple people in faith, their marriage, and their finances, because we really have a passion for helping people grow their wealth from a young age or wherever they're at, because both of us are very self-made when it comes to that. And I think there needs to be more accessible education for people to learn how to get from A to B. And we love helping people do that. So, and then the last part is my family just launched a church about a month ago called Generations Church Omaha. And so my husband runs up the media side of that, and I head up the worship team, because we just need one more thing to do. So a church is basically like running a business, and there's a lot of moving parts, but we're just super grateful and just have a heart for people. So in everything that we do, we just want to make other people's lives better. And whether that's in pageants or in sales or in ministry, we just really believe in the whole person and helping them at whatever phase that they're at right now, kind of get to the next phase and the next level.
That's impressive. So what have you learned on your journey of entrepreneurship that you wish you would have known when you started?
So much. Like I said, I didn't know anything. I definitely believe that, like I said, hiring coaches as soon as possible is so important. And also the second that you can, so let's just say, for example, that's $10K a month or something as a business owner. Once you get there, hiring other people or contractors to help you with your weaknesses, and understanding that you're going to have a set of strengths as an entrepreneur. Most entrepreneurs are visionaries, which means we're not very good integrators. So typically, you have the vision, you're the self-starter, you're good with people, you're probably good at the sales side of things and potentially marketing, but operations and fulfillment, typically CEOs are not as good at, and that's completely fine. So having other people around you that are really wonderful at those things, I have my all-star team of women that work for me, and I always say work with me. It's cool because there's this flip in your brain where I think you go from just leading yourself and for any of you guys listening who are entrepreneurs, most of you can grow your companies to multiple 6 figures with just yourself, which is cool. But then when it does come time to tap into help, administrative help will change your life, and then operations help and really finding the right culture fits to come alongside of you. Just like the Bible says, we're all a body with different parts, right? Your eye does something different than the elbow, but we need both of them. And it was a huge revelation for me to learn that all the stuff that I hated in business, somebody else loved and was really good at. And like that was just mind-boggling to me. And then the last thing is learning how to lead other people. So if there's one thing that I could say, no matter what age you are right now, like you are in 100% control of your own personal development. So when I was in my early 20s, I mean, I have like 10 books just even right next to me right now, but constantly reading. Like I was not spending my time watching Netflix and going out and doing these different things, which if that's what you're doing, like great, whatever. But if you really want to build a business, you're going to have to sacrifice things along the way. And so that was listening to podcasts and doing things that stretched me out of my comfort zone. And, that's where like my husband and I, now most of our friends are in our 50s because we want to glean from their wisdom and just naturally like that's what we want to be around because we have such a hunger and such a vision for how we want to impact the world. And I think a lot of pageant women have a similar hunger. They're just doing that through pageants right now for the phase of life that they're in. And so what we found is that a lot of our clients end up becoming entrepreneurs of some kind because we're kind of instilling this philosophy in them of this abundance mindset and that, you can kind of create the life that you want. And, just every day, if I can be even a little bit of an inspiration in that direction, then, that really makes me happy.
Let's go back to what you said earlier. You started with $162 in your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
How do you start a business with that amount of money?
Yeah. Well, with an online business specifically today, there's a lot that you can do with a very seldom startup capital. So like I said, I was working as a barista. I was making, I think, $8.50 an hour at the time with, some tip money if I was lucky. I moved back in with my parents, and starting an actual business is not as hard as people think. So, you just pay $100 for an LLC, which protects your assets. And in certain states, it can be up to $500, like California and New York are more expensive. But actually starting a business is not as hard as you think that it is. And obviously, if you're going to be a product-based company, or let's say like an IT company or a company that needs a ton of startup capital, then you need to be in the right location and you need to be networking and making connections. And I highly encourage people to not quit their jobs right away and just go all in. Because sometimes what that can actually happen is the first time that you fail, you get discouraged and then you start to look inward and think, oh, well, maybe I'm not meant for this. When in reality, you just jumped off the high dive before the low dive to kind of get used to the process. And so I still worked at the coffee shop for, I think, a solid like 6 to 8 months as I just saved and figured it out. And I think it's important to learn and to ask the question, well, what can I do with the resources that I have right now? And that's what I did. So for me, an online coaching business, I literally needed a way to coach people through a process that got them results, which was free. I just spent a lot of time in my own brain. And then I needed a Zoom account, which was like $17 a month, and a laptop that I already had from college. So that's what I did. And I think the entrepreneurship mindset of people that are successful, they learn to look at obstacles as just ways, okay, great. I can go under, I can go through, I can go around. Like you can't always move the obstacle, but they have that mindset that's just kind of grits their teeth and they're like, we're going to get through this no matter what it is. And they have a bit more of a risk tolerance too. And so I think for me, I mitigated my risk tolerance as much as I could, living in with my family, and I saved every penny and, just tried to work as many hours as I could. And then slowly I built that from there. The last thing that I'll say with this is that we're moving into an age, or we are in an age where people pay for knowledge and experience more than ever before. So for example, there are people that are leaving teaching jobs and getting paid 3 times as much to become an online tutor who have never started a business before, but know that they want to be home with their kids, but they have a teaching gift, right? So things like that are a great example, is that if you can build a skill set or a knowledge base, coaching and consulting and sales ultimately, as well as public speaking, are some of the highest paid industries in the world.
How do you determine which idea you should move forward with and which ideas you should throw in the garbage? Because I know a lot of people, they may have ideas pop up every single day, and all of them may not be the best. So what type of evaluation system are you using to determine what your next move should be?
This is a fantastic question. So I created a triangle, and it's called the pain, urgency, money triangle, because those are the 3 things that you need to validate an idea. So are the people or the product or service that you're putting in front of people, first of all, does it solve a problem? So if you're in like such a niche market that only 5 people care about it in the world, and obviously that's an exaggeration, but like if the sample size of people who even would buy your product or service is under 5-10,000 people, whatever, then it's going to be way harder for you to market and find those people in the first place. And then if you say, oh, well, I have a $10 million dream, and you can only charge $50 for what you're even selling, and there's only 100 people or 1,000 people that would even buy it, well, then you only have a $5,000 or $50,000 business, right? And so like quite literally, it's impossible for you to make $10 million. And so that's again where people can get discouraged, because that's called product market fit, and making sure that you even have done your market research to know, like, is this thing viable? And then on top of that, so solving a problem, big enough market. And then on top of that, pain, urgency, and money. So is there actually a pain that you're solving? Is there urgency of where they need it now? Or can they just live without it and like, oh, that's a nice to have, but I don't really need it? And then do they have the money to actually buy that thing? So especially if you're in the service category, making sure that you're not marketing to a broke market and trying to charge a higher ticket price. Again, there may not be anything wrong with you. It's your market or who you're specifically servicing towards. And then if you're on more of the low ticket side, so low ticket products, low ticket services, then it's a whole different model, because then that's all about attention. And so you have to be willing to play the long game. For example, for my clients that want to go the low ticket side, I'm like, okay, then you're going to have to really dedicate yourself to content or spending money on ads to get in front of enough people so that more eyeballs can even see your product. And then the last thing that I'll say to that is making sure that, test it out, like sit with it for 2 or 3 months, sit it with 6 months. Is it still something that scratches at your heart? Is it still something that you're like, man, that really bugs me that there's not a solution for that? There's not, I Googled it, I Amazoned it, and I can't find a solution for this problem that happens. I think if it really sticks with you for a while and you're willing to see it to the finish line, even if things don't go perfectly first, that's a great way. And all the other things that I said, to know that you should go for it.
I know you have a business called salesqueen.com. Do you need to be good at sales in order to be an entrepreneur?
You do. You don't need to be good at sales at first, but you need to get good at sales. So, obviously, especially on the service or the coaching side, if you're going to be interacting with people, then absolutely you do. The only instance when I'd say that you wouldn't need to is maybe if you have a product that you're just selling on TikTok or something, and by more so like showing the product that is doing the sales. So I think sales can be interpreted in a few different ways. Are we verbally selling the product, where even if you have a technology company or something that you're pitching to a venture capital firm, like you're still going to have to pitch, like we see on Shark Tank, which is ultimately sales. It's ultimately saying, hey, why do you need to give me your resources for me to solve this problem for you? So I absolutely think that sales is, like I said, it's not the highest paid skill set in the world for no reason. So sales can look like different things, but absolutely every entrepreneur has to be really good at sales.
That's good to know. So if anybody is wondering what skills they should add to their list for next year, think about sales, because it won't just serve you well in business, but in pageantry and in other goals that you may have. You want to be able to interact and engage with your target audience. I love it, Megan. Now, you mentioned your faith. Can you tell us how faith has played a role in the person you've become today, and how do you incorporate that into your daily life?
I could talk about this for hours. Yes. So, it's the foundation of my identity. And on a very practical level, when I have clients from all different faiths, all different backgrounds, all different, political parties, everything. And I love that, because at the end of the day, the love of God, even if people don't know that it's the love of God, is still going to pierce people's hearts, and they'll know it when they feel it, even if they don't know what to call it. And so I have a really unique opportunity to do ministry with a business hat on, is how I like to say it. And my husband and I are, extremely, extremely like about as Jesus freak of people as you can imagine. But we get to do that with emotional intelligence in different ways, and social intelligence, where you get to give people the parts of scripture and the part of really God's love, like I said, that they need in those moments. And so definitely not all of my clients are Christians, and I love them all the same. But it is a tremendous blessing when, for example, a pageant client will be going through something that they really don't know how to get a breakthrough for. And through relationship, I will have the opportunity to dive deeper and ask them questions about their faith and ask them questions about their identity and ask them questions about those kinds of things. And then we get to breathe the love of God and bring that into our coaching atmosphere to get breakthrough in just a really beautiful way, because everybody deserves to know where we came from and who they are. And so I feel like a ninja sometimes, where I really get to go in and do that, because there are a lot of people that might be shiny and perfect on the outside that are really hurting. And I feel like God's given both my husband and I a really unique open door for people to trust us in those ways, which I take very seriously. And like I said, help them get to their next level. So yeah, faith is incorporated in quite literally every single aspect of my day. And I think whether you're an entrepreneur, whether, whatever you're doing, wherever you go, there you are. And I very much subscribe to the fact of, obviously, like when we're doing an onstage question or we're doing an interview, like you need to read the room, right? Like I'm not just going to go there and try and get people saved in an onstage question at Miss USA, right? That's not the purpose of why I'm there. But I also try and teach all of my girls that, like, you don't need to put a mask on to win a pageant and then take it off. And now you're Christian Megan over here and you're pageant Megan over here. I'm like, no, it should be the same person. Otherwise, that's exhausting. And chances are you're probably not actually communicating as clearly as you can be, because you're having to second guess yourself and say, well, which version of me can I be here? And people do that in relationships. People do that in job interviews. People do that when they're at a restaurant meeting a new person, networking, whatever. And so freedom comes from being able to be yourself everywhere that you are and knowing that you're loved and accepted and just whole and valuable. And when you can do that, I think that people have the wow factor, when you can do that too. And ultimately, that's what a lot of pageant competitors are looking for. And you guys have heard a little bit of my story in that way too. Like I was not just born that way. Like I really had to overcome some tough things in my life, and more than I even shared today. And so I try to be an example of how far somebody can come, no matter how dark something was. And I would not be anywhere close to where I am today without my faith and without what God's done for me.
That's so powerful. I love it how pageantry is another form of ministry. It allows you to use your voice and amplify your message so that you can share with others the process, the journey of overcoming, of what God has done for you. So I absolutely love it. Remember, everyone, follow Megan on Instagram at Powerhouse Pageantry. Megan, are there any other words of advice that you want to share with us? I absolutely love how you're an entrepreneur, life coach, pastor, and you do it with your husband by your side.
Absolutely. I think my last message is just don't settle for less than what you're called to be and called to do. There were so many times in my life when I was surrounded by the wrong people or in the wrong relationship. And almost immediately, it caused my life to reset its compass and start to go down roads that maybe even on the outside weren't horrible roads, but they definitely slowed me down for where I was believing to get. And there's no reason to frustrate your own heart or to grieve your own heart by saying yes to things that were never meant for you, and then wondering why your life looks like chaos, which we've all done. And so it's really important to guard your time, to guard your heart, to guard who has access to your heart. And the last thing that I'll say, I always say this to my coaching clients, but I'm like, don't give people a front row seat when they don't even deserve to be in the stadium. Just don't even let them in. Like some people, we need to literally have a bodyguard sitting there like this, that's 6'8", saying, you're not getting in here. And we need to do that with people. We need to do that with our thought life. We need to do that with so many different areas of our life. And so when we do give the right things a front row seat, they'll be speaking blessing into your life. They'll be speaking a hope and a future and love into your life. And I think it's really important to choose what those things are, those thoughts are, and those people are. And you'll see that naturally you'll start to take steps towards the hope and the future that God has for you.
Don't give people a front row seat when they don't deserve to be at the stadium. Whoa, Megan, that's another conversation for another day. I want to thank you for joining us on the Wealthy Women Daily Show. And remember, everyone, follow Megan on Instagram at Powerhouse Pageantry. Is there anywhere else that people can follow you?
Absolutely. Yeah, my personal Instagram is at Megan Swanson Rhodes. Swanson is what many of you may know me by when I competed in pageants, so don't get confused by that. Rhodes is my awesome husband's name. And, all my Instagram handles were taken, so we just had to put both of them in there. So, yeah, follow me at Megan Swanson Rhodes on Instagram. You can go to our website, powerhousepageantry.com, or if you have any interest in finding the right coach for you, you can either work with us or we'll point you in the right direction if we think we're not the right fit for you. And just hope everybody just has an amazing rest of their day as they're watching this. And thanks for listening.
Thank you so much, Megan. How are you feeling? The best part is that we are not done yet. We have more sessions for you, and you can participate in our 3-day investing challenge. 3 days of saving, investing, getting your money right, and knowing what you have to do in order to get from where you are to where you want to be. Right? The only thing standing in between who you are and who you want to be is the action that you decide to take right now. So make sure you sign up. The link is in the comments. Put your email address in, and we will send you an email with all the details. I am giving away a copy of my book, Dividends Are a Queen's Best Friend, during that 3-day investing challenge. I'm also giving away cash prizes and gift cards as a reward for you investing in you, right? Because when you invest in you, when you make smart decisions, you get dividends. And so I want to get you in the habit of making better decisions for you and your family so that you won't have to worry about money and time again. All right, let's get back to our summit. Your brand is an extension of you, so it's so important to think about how you plan to show up in a new year. Well, our next guest will help you to define your brand and expand your reach. Lily May is an award-winning PR strategist, TV personality, and international speaker. She is the creator of the Glambitious brand, which helps entrepreneurs expand their visibility and influence. She has helped entrepreneurs around the world grow their businesses through books, coaching, and courses for more than 10 years. She's a graduate of UNC Chapel Hill and has been seen on Netflix, TMZ, Black Enterprise, and Cosmopolitan, among numerous other media platforms. So she's your girl if you want to be visible out here in these social media streets and beyond. Now, this year, Lily May released a book, Entrepreneur's Guide to Get More Visibility. It's on Amazon.com right now. Without further ado, let me bring to the stage Lily May.
Hello. Hey, everyone.
Yes, we are so excited to have you here because your brand, your visibility, the entire package is so important to shaping what happens in the next year, right?
Yes.
So, Lily May, can you tell us how you got started and why are you so passionate about helping entrepreneurs gain more visibility in the marketplace?
Sure. So after I graduated from Chapel Hill and moved into Atlanta, I started in marketing and publicity right away. And once I became an entrepreneur, then I started to help people with their visibility and help myself with my visibility. And so I learned how important it was to be visible so that you are always at the top of mind when people need your services, when people are looking for a speaker, or when they're looking for a resource that you have, you're at the top of mind. And so now, fast forward 15 years later, it's even more imperative to have visibility so that you can reach financial success, because that is the only way that you can attract the volume of customers and clients that you desire. It's through visibility. So I'm very, very passionate about sharing that with the audience today, and I'm so excited to be here.
Well, let's jump into that. What does visibility look like, and what do people need to start doing to raise their brand visibility?
Yes. So visibility is being seen and being heard. And people definitely need to see what you offer and they need to hear about what you offer. There was an old marketing rule that people need to see you 7 times before they decide to do business with you. But that has since changed dramatically. And they now say that people need to see you 21 times before they decide to do business with you. So visibility is being seen on different platforms. It's being heard. It's, being a speaker at different events. Visibility includes getting interviews with podcasts and magazines. So anything that allows your target demographic to hear about your business and hear value from you, that is visibility.
Back in the day, people needed to see you at least 7 times before buying into your brand. And now it's 21 times.
Yes.
Well, we are still only one person. So how do we make this happen?
Yes. So I always encourage people to create an actual strategy so that you touch your target demographic 21 times. So that strategy could be going on Instagram Live regularly. That strategy could include pitching yourself for interviews with different platforms. That strategy should also include collaborations because anytime that you collaborate with another platform, you gain visibility to their audience and their network. So I always encourage collaboration, as like a next step. If you're tuned in, write down 10 powerhouse women that you would love to collaborate with. That's great for brand alignment and it's great for enhanced visibility. And so that's a few of the ways that you can really strategize and map out, okay, how can I make sure that people see me 21 times? I need to send out an email newsletter. I need to have a text marketing system. So there's so many different ways, Facebook ads, Instagram ads. There's so many different ways that you can leverage what's in your hand to make sure that people continuously hear you and see you.
Okay, so how do we be strategic about how we do it? Because there's a long list of to-dos, right? And you mentioned find people that you want to collaborate with. How can you be strategic about that?
Yeah. So when I am looking for women to collaborate with, I look and see if their audience is my target demographic. So you want to make sure that anyone that you collaborate with has a similar target demographic as you so that you can maximize that collaboration. So that would definitely be step number one. I also look at people who have typically a larger reach than me. And I always encourage clients when you're looking for collaborations, find women who have even a stronger platform or more visibility because that's also going to help you to level up your visibility. With brand alignment, it's really aligning with people that your audience is excited to see you with, right? So, they're always the top girl bosses that we see on social media. They're doing it big. And so anyone in your industry that you're impressed by, find a way to align with them, to collaborate with them, even if it's just inviting them for an Instagram Live interview. You could literally pitch them and say, hey, Lily Mae, I saw you during the summit. I would love to interview you on my Instagram platform just to learn more about your journey. So that's an easy way to collaborate, but you definitely want to be strategic and make sure that they have a similar target demographic, that there's definitely brand alignment, meaning that the way they present their business is similar to how you present your business. And you want to make sure that their platform has an expanded reach so that every collaboration is multifaceted.
Now, most business owners are tied up with all of their other responsibilities, right? They're busy doing what they were in business to do. So, who are those people that you need to have on your team to help you build your brand?
That is a great question. I always encourage entrepreneurs to at least consult with someone who is in public relations and marketing. So that could be a PR strategist, a marketing strategist, a branding expert. At least do a consultation with them. If you can't afford to have them full time on your team, at least schedule a monthly coaching or strategy call with them so that they can look at what you're working on and find ways to maximize it. Oftentimes, like you mentioned, entrepreneurs have so much going on. They're like, I can't afford to bring on a full-time PR agency, marketing agency, etc. So at least schedule a 1-hour strategy call with someone like myself so that we can look at what you have going on, what you have coming up, and how to maximize it because it's impossible to be everything and everywhere at once in your business. So I always encourage people to at least consult with or book a strategy call with someone that is in public relations or marketing.
How should we think about our goals and how do we know if our goals are reasonable? There's this acronym called SMART. So it's S specific, M, measurable, A, attainable, R, realistic or reasonable, and T, timely. So how do we do that in the visibility process? Where do I start? Because I'm like, I would like to have 5,000, 10,000 additional followers in the next 3 months, but is that realistic?
Right. And so I love that you asked about that, because you're right. A lot of times when I'm working with clients and getting them interviews, they want to immediately get Black Enterprise, People Magazine, USA Today. Which, it's ambitious, and I don't knock anyone for their ambitions, but you want to take baby steps. I always say a win is a win. So when I'm creating goals for myself, even if they are lofty goals, then I know that at least I'm going to land somewhere in the middle. So there's nothing wrong with setting a lofty goal, but just set your expectations that if you don't meet that lofty goal, you'll at least land somewhere in the middle. So I always say it's just about your capacity. Do you have the capacity to create a content calendar and consistent content to attract visibility? Do you have the capacity to consistently pitch yourself for interview opportunities and speaking opportunities? So when it comes to setting realistic goals, be realistic with your capacity. How much can you actually do for your visibility while running your business, and start where your capacity lies?
I love that. So where do I start? I want to create a timeline, a master plan that will help me get closer to my goals by a certain date.
Yes, so you can start by getting my book. So I literally put, my 10 years of PR experience into a book that's very digestible, and it has pictures and things that you can write in and, really strategize your visibility. But I would really start there, getting the book. It's called, the Get More Visibility E-Guide for Entrepreneurs, and it really guides you through everything you need to do to start your visibility plan and your strategy. And it has homework pages and all of that. So once you get that, then you start to look at your social media channels and then map out a content calendar for that. That's something that's fully within your power. Then you start and create a media calendar. And that's when you decide, okay, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So media, they're really going to be looking for stories about that. Do I have anything that ties into that awareness? And this is, again, why it's really good to consult with a strategist, because we have all of these things on our agenda. So we know what season that media are looking for what types of content, but it is tangible for you to also, create a media calendar and say, okay, I want to interview with this podcast or this magazine, and write those down, find the contact information, and start pitching yourself. So I feel like if you start with social media and a content calendar, and then you create a media content calendar, those are two very strong places to start with your visibility.
A question about the social media, because I hear this a lot. Which social media channel do I start with? Do I need to do all the things at once? What are your recommendations?
That's a great question. And I don't believe you need to be on every social media channel at once. I would say always check your analytics and see where you get the best response, because I may get a great response on Instagram Live, but you may get a great response on LinkedIn Live or Facebook Live, or you may have a Facebook group that really responds to your posts and your videos. So I would say figure out which channel gives you the best response and put more energy into that channel, because spreading yourself thin and being on all the channels and not having an impact, I don't think is worth it, versus really honing in on one channel. It might be YouTube, and saying, okay, I really get responses when I post a YouTube video. Let me put consistent energy into that channel. So I would just pick one or two channels to put the most energy into.
I'm always interested in systems and efficiency. So, what would you say are your must have branding tools when starting this journey? Hootsuite was a big one for me back in the day, but I know things have evolved since then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Hootsuite, I think is still a great, social media management tool for sure. And it's a great way to start your system so that you can make sure you're posting on all of the platforms at once. I would definitely say you want an email marketing system. You want a text marketing system, because a lot of people now, their emails are flooded. So now it's a little bit more into the text marketing, which you have to be, strategic with that as to not overwhelm people on their cell phone. So those are definitely systems I think you should definitely have: an email marketing system, a text marketing system, and then some sort of system to schedule your content in advance. I always encourage clients to have a content day, right? So maybe Sunday could be your content day where you create all of your reels for that week, all of your content for that week, and you schedule it out on Sunday. That way, you know that you're going to have a consistent presence through, your social media channel. So I would start with those 3 systems.
Okay, so now we have our systems. We know which social media platforms we're going to play with. We have your book. Is there anything else that we should be doing on our journey to expand our visibility and influence?
Well, I would just say, be consistent with wherever you decide to put your energy for visibility. Because I know if you're a solopreneur, if you're new to entrepreneurship, that it can be overwhelming to say, wow, Lily, I have to pitch myself for interviews. I have to go on Instagram Live. I have to have an email newsletter. I have to do all these things. So it can get a little overwhelming, to do all of the things as well as run a business. So I would say consistency would be my final thought as far as your visibility. If you decide that, your capacity can only handle going live on Instagram daily, then let that be your channel and just make sure that you're consistent. So whatever visibility channel you decide to move forward with, I would say just make sure that you're consistent, because people definitely want to see you consistently in one platform and they want to expect you. So it's always good to be consistent, even if it's just in an email marketing. You want people to expect that on Mondays, I'm going to get an email from Lily Mae or etc. So that would be one of my closing thoughts. And again, you can definitely check out my book at visibilityforme.com. That's visibilityforme.com. And for the month of November, it's only $15. So I definitely encourage you to start there with your visibility journey.
Well, I did receive a question via email before we went live, so I want to address that question first. Someone asked, how important is this? How will this impact my financial success?
Great question. This is extremely important. You have to be seen to be paid. Okay. If no one knows that your business is there, how can they spend money with you? All right. If no one knows that you're valuable and an expert in the marketplace, then how can they make the investment into your services? So it's absolutely imperative to your financial success that you get serious about your visibility and that you figure out what really works for your business, because you have some people who are making 6 figures off of Facebook alone. Some people who are making 6 figures because of their visibility on YouTube alone, right? And so once you figure out what's really working and you put energy into that visibility, it will definitely return a financial harvest for you. And so I always encourage people, remember that showing up is like sowing a seed, right? Because you never know who's going to see you when you post that content or when you speak at that event or when you send that email newsletter. You never know who's going to see you. And all it takes is one person to invest in your 5 or 4 or 5 figure offer for it to be worth it. So it's absolutely integral to your financial success that you get serious about your visibility. One last note, there was what people call the Great Resignation last year, where many, many people went into entrepreneurship, hundreds and thousands of people. So that now means that every industry has an extra couple of 100,000 people doing the exact same thing what you do, doing the exact same thing that I do. So what's going to separate Lily Mae from the other person that helps people with their public relations and their marketing? What's going to separate you from the other hundreds of thousands of people that do exactly what you do? It's visibility. It's who gets seen more. It's who gets heard more. That's how you build up a reputation. That's how you build up recognition, so that you're at the top of the mind when people are ready to spend money on the services you offer. So that is how you harness visibility for financial success. You find the platform and the channel of visibility that works well for you. You put consistent energy to it. And before all that, you want to make sure you have an irresistible offer. That's usually what I always lead with, because you can have all the visibility in the world, but if your offer isn't irresistible to your target demographic, then it's null and void. So before you get to this part of your journey, make sure that you have an irresistible offer, something that your target demographic has to have, that they are ready to purchase, and all they need is to see you with it to make that investment. And if you're uncertain about what to offer in this climate, because it does change from year to year, definitely book a coaching call with me. I would love to review your offers, your social media presence, your website, and really help you package something in a way that resonates with your audience, so that once you tap into this visibility platform that we talked about, or the visibility plan that we discussed, that it actually, returns a harvest to you.
I love it. I always say there is someone who needs exactly what you have, but they have no idea that you exist yet. So your job on this journey is to make yourself visible so that all the people that need you can find you. I want to thank Lily Mae for coming on the Wealthy Women Daily Show. You can follow her on I Am Lily Mae on Instagram at I Am Lily Mae, and make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel at Wealthy Women Daily. Thank you so much, Lily Mae.
You're welcome.
Friendly reminder, don't forget to sign up for the 3-day investing challenge. Over those 3 days, we will be talking about saving, investing, your goals, and making sure you have an action plan to take you from where you are to where you want to be. So go to the comments, make sure you sign up, click on that link, put in your email so that you can get all the details so that you have your seat for the 3-day investing challenge. I'm so excited. Let's get back to our summit. It's time to talk about networking. We have the queen of networking here with us today, Dr. Ashley Little. Now, Dr. Ashley is an award-winning serial entrepreneur, Miss Global Continental 2023, TEDx speaker, philanthropist, and so much more. But I'm going to let Dr. Ashley Little come on up and tell us about her background and how she got started.
Absolutely. Thank you, Charlene, for this opportunity, for inviting me to your platform. Again, my name is Dr. Ashley Little. I'm an award-winning serial entrepreneur, as she stated, Miss Global Continental TEDx speaker. I'm in media. I have a media platform called Creating Your Seat at the Table, along with a magazine as well. And I do consulting. Other speaking opportunities and publishing. I publish books and I help people share their stories, new authors, seasoned authors, children authors. So I do a lot of things. So I'm excited to be here today, excited to be on this amazing platform to talk about the power of networking and collaboration, because that's really how I've built my platforms, through building genuine relationships.
Yeah, people are always wondering, how did you get access to this? How did you win this pageant? How did you start your magazine? I'm sure you didn't do everything on your own.
No.
So tell us, how did you get started in pageantry?
Absolutely. Well, I've always been in pageantry since a little girl, right? So as I continue to do it throughout childhood, throughout college, and then now back into it in my adulthood, just building those relationships. I remember meeting my director, the amazing Lucretia, about a year and a half ago. We connected really off Facebook, and we built a relationship from there. And she was like, "You will be amazing. I want you to be in my pageant. Let's see how we can get you in the pageant. This is what you need to do." And me and her just really built a genuine relationship from there. I mean, I remember our first conversation, and it was just me and her getting to know each other, and me telling her the value I can bring to her system and to her, and her, telling me the value that she could bring in my life as well. So it's more of a, how can you bring value into that person's life when you're meeting someone and you wanting to connect with them and build that relationship. And that's really how I got back into the pageantry as an adult, right? Just meeting my director online and building a relationship from there, and continuing to do the work, because hey, nothing's given to you. Doing the work and building a relationship at the same time. So it's been a great journey. I've met some amazing queens like yourself, Charlene, and some other amazing queens. And so it's been a great ride.
It's always an honor to watch your accomplishments on social media. Every time I get on social media, Dr. Ashley Little has accomplished something different. You must have a massive network.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about your network?
Absolutely. I am not afraid to speak to anybody. I'm not afraid to shoot my shots. Okay. I always use that, shoot your shot. Right. I'm not afraid to jump out there. And I think a lot of people miss that part, right? Regardless of if somebody says no or not, that means not right now. Right. And to keep going and being persistent and being consistent and inviting people to your table. And that's another way I've built genuine, real relationships and longevity, right? You want longevity when it comes to building these relationships, and you want to nurture them, right? And so I've always offered what I could bring to someone else. When I go in wanting to meet someone, I look at the ways I can bring value to them. I also do research on people I want to connect with too, right? And I want to see how, what areas of opportunities I have that I can help them close some gaps in their lives, right? To see what their pain points are. Because everybody have pain points in areas where they want to be better or they might need help. And so that comes with doing your research and then figuring out how you can bring value to that person, but not going into those conversations thinking about what you can get out of it. No, go into those conversations with how can you bring value to that person? How can you open doors for that person? And I'm telling you, it'll come back double when you go in with a genuine heart to help others.
That's a good point. Some people never think about doing research on the people you connect with or you want to connect with, and then determining how you can add value. That is the secret sauce. Don't just think about what they can give you, but what can you add to them? Because most likely they are busy people. They Absolutely. Have a full-time life.
Yes.
And so you want to add some type of value to make their life easier so that they can have time to help you. Right. So what does that research look like, Dr. Ashley? Let's say I have 5 people that I want to connect with because I want to learn how to build a successful YouTube channel.
Right.
What does the research look like?
Absolutely. So you want to go, on their page and on their social media pages and see how they're connecting with others, see how they're treating other people. You can see a lot in the comments, are they on pictures with other people? Are they collaborating with other people? Are they working with other people, right? The things that you're looking for in order to collaborate, right? You want to be with people who are not selfish. You want to collaborate with people who bring value to you, that can help you grow and that you can help them grow, right? You want to be with people, who are opening doors for other people. So doing those type of research, right? And to your question about the YouTube channel, then you want to go check out their YouTube, see who they're interviewing, see what their reviews are, see what people are saying that I've interviewed with them, right? And just seeing do they have the results that you're looking to get, right? I always tell people when I'm looking to collaborate with people, I want to collaborate with people who can bring value, first of all, right? And I can bring value to them, but also people who are not selfish, people who can open doors, that we can open doors for each other, where we can continue to build and really take it to that next level, right? And be able to give back to each other and understanding that we are a team and that we can all win together. That's what I'm looking for when I'm looking to collaborate with people. And also people that are 20 steps ahead of you or more, so that you can actually, if you're looking to build that YouTube channel, you need to connect with that person that's really doing it and that's really have the results that you want to get to, right? That's really successful. Not somebody that just started yesterday. No disrespect to that. But if you want to get to this big YouTube channel, you want to monetize it and you want to continue to grow it, you have to connect with that person that's already where you're at. And I always say, I love to connect with people who are 20 steps ahead of me because they've been there, they've done that, right? And they can really teach me how to get there.
Now, Dr. Ashley, you make it sound so easy. Just do your research and connect with the people. I don't know if everybody is as extroverted as you are. And have you always been extroverted and ready to connect with people, or were there experiences in your life that made you more open to building those relationships?
I will say this. I've always been extroverted. I love to talk, right? And I don't think I've ever met a stranger. And so what I would tell people who are introverted, just get out there and do it, right? Everybody has some type of fear, even us extroverts, right? We all have to start somewhere. So if you are introvert, take that first step and push yourself out there. Be uncomfortable. It's good. Uncomfortable is good. Shoot your shot. Send them a message in their DM. Send them a message on Facebook. Send them an email and tell them what you want to do and how you want to connect with them and how you want to bring value and what you would like to do, right? And if they don't respond, that's okay. And I think a lot of people get caught up in if somebody doesn't respond, or if somebody, you know, it's taking a while to get back with them, or hey, or they might think that person's out of their league and they're just not gonna give them the time of day, right? You second guess yourself and you talk yourself out of the opportunity. No, get out there and just do it and see what happens. At least you can say that you did it. So for my introverts, I challenge you to get out there, attend those networking events, be uncomfortable, and watch what happens. Okay, I know it's scary, especially if you're, you know, if that's not your normal, right? I would definitely tell you just to step out there and do it. You can start with baby steps. You can send a DM, send a Facebook message, and see what happens. But don't get discouraged if somebody doesn't respond, or if it's a delayed response, or if they never respond. I have been connected with a lot of people throughout the years of me just being in entrepreneurship in general, right? Just in life. And some people responded and some people did not. But some people I had to keep being persistent. They wanted to see me being persistent. They wanted to see how consistent I was. And they wanted to see if I was somebody that they could make time for too. So people are watching you as well. And so sometimes when they're not responding, they're researching you and they're trying to see, hey, is this person worth my time as well? Is this person worthy of me making time for? Are they really going to bring value to me? Are they really going to add to me? Or they're just looking for something? So you got to think about that. It's on both sides. So don't get discouraged because, hey, we all have to start somewhere. We're all scared at the end of the day. We're all scared.
Yeah, and you mentioned a good point. You really can't take it personal if somebody doesn't respond to you. People have lives. They are busy. They may be fighting some type of health condition.
Yes.
They may have lost a loved one. You never know. So it's not always about you.
Right.
We really have to
It's
change
really
the
not.
narrative in our heads and realize that they are human too. And so how should we go into these situations, right? You mentioned earlier, a no is not necessarily a never.
That's
It's
right.
probably a not now.
And
And so you have to be persistent, like Dr. Ashley Little said. So thank you for those tips. Are there any more tips that you would like to share with us? Because I like to have a networking game plan. There may be 100 people that I want to network with, and I want to be strategic about it.
Yes.
Maybe have 10 people I network and reach out to. Maybe I reach out on LinkedIn. But what are some networking strategies that have worked well for you?
Absolutely. Follow up. I think a lot of people miss that part. Your follow up should be within 72 hours when you're meeting someone. Also, when you're first approaching someone, you want to get to know them as a person, right? Have genuine conversations about them, about their life, what they really have going on. Don't just jump into business, right? Really get to know them as a person and build that relationship with them to see if that's somebody you really want to work with and that you really want to do business with, right? But it starts with genuinely wanting to get to know people, like really building a solid foundation, right? And looking, like I always say this, looking at ways that you can serve them, right? A lot of people miss that part. How can you serve them? Look at ways that you can serve people. And don't go into it with, if you're going to get something out of it. Even if you don't get anything out of it, right? You at least have had a servant mindset and have that servant heart that you want to serve that person, right? So that's the key thing is just having that servant mindset, right? And the follow-up. And then also just making sure, as I stated before, that you are persistent and that you are consistent with your strategy on connecting with these 10 people, right? And then once you make the connection and the door is open, you want to nurture that relationship. You want to continue to nurture that relationship, right? You figure out different things that you can do to keep the relationship going. As I said, if you have a platform and, interview them or attend their conference, attend their event, invite them to some of your things, right? See what they have going on, right? And then see what you have going on and figure out ways that you all can work together and create that relationship from there. It's just really all about the relationships, right? It is really, I know people hear this all the time, that relationships are more than money. They are. They can get you at tables that degrees can't, that money can't, just because you have built a solid foundation, a genuine solid foundation. And it all starts with having that servant mindset. I'm telling you, a lot of people miss that part because they go into it with what can you get out of it. And people read through that easily when you're not genuine. Okay. And what I would leave everyone else with, as far as, the power of networking and collaboration, is just always, walking in excellence, because people are always watching you, right? They're watching you at all times. It's like you're watching them, and they want to make sure that they're connecting with somebody who is going to be a great example for their brand too. Right. So that's very important, and making sure that you're always walking in excellence, right? And that you are displaying what you want people to perceive of you, right? That you're walking in that. And so I would always tell people to make sure that that's at the forefront of your mind when you're looking to collaborate with people, because people, we work hard for our brands, right? We work hard for our platforms, and we want to make sure we're connecting with the right people that can really continue to advance it, right? And continue to help us grow, and we help them grow. And then again, make sure you're bringing value. I can't stress that enough. Make sure you're bringing value to that person. So that's what I would tell everybody. Walk into the new year with that. Walk into the new year saying, hey, I always use this, shoot my shot. I'm going to step out there. I'm going to connect with people. I'm going to attend events. I'm going to connect with people on social media platforms. I'm going to see how I can, add value to them. I'm going to invite them to my events. I'm going to figure out many different ways where I can connect with people to really grow my platform. And I'm going to be genuine about it, right? You're going to be genuine about making those connections. And I'm telling you, once you do it that way, and with that servant heart, the doors will continue to open. I mean, I've built my platform just off relationships, even with interviewing people, with my magazine, with different things. I remember when I was looking to interview Les Brown, and he was on my magazine cover, and I've interviewed him before. But it was a process, it was a process with, working with his team and reaching out multiple times. Sometimes, the first couple of times I didn't get a response. I didn't interview him until 2 years later, right? So people, I'm telling you, we always looking for the microwave version. It takes time, okay? And especially when you are reaching out to people, of that caliber, and not saying nobody's better than the other person, but it was Les Brown, right? And so, I was consistent though, and I was persistent, and it happened, right? And I continued to walk in excellence and grow my brand and connect with other amazing people and really do the work, right? Do the work. And I'm telling you, that will open doors for you too. And I understand that people are always looking at your platform and looking at what you're doing and seeing, hey, are they helping other people? They can tell that by your platform too, and just off conversation. Are you opening doors to other people? Are you happy for other people, right? Or do you work well with other people? All those are things that I want everybody to take away and think about when you're looking to connect with people, because people are looking for those things. Those are the people that people want to connect with. They want to connect their brands with. It's always about representation and making sure that you're always walking in excellence.
I love that. I always tell people to start where you are.
Yeah.
If you are at a conference, like right now, you are at the Wealth, Health, and Self-Care Summit, you need to be networking. You need to follow Ashley on Instagram at _Ashley A. Little, right? You need to find out what Ashley does. Are there any similarities? Are there any ways you can connect with Ashley? Are there any ways that you can add value to Ashley's platform? Ashley mentioned she has a magazine. Well, what are some of her needs? You can see that she's a pageant queen. Well, what are some of her needs, right? Find ways to connect. So Dr. Ashley Little, let's take people through that process right now, because they are connecting with numerous speakers. What are the things they should do within the next 72 hours to make this experience the best experience that they can, to make it pay dividends for next year?
Absolutely. First of all, as Charlene said, start following us, right? Follow our platforms, right? And then reach out. Do not be afraid to reach out. You can reach out and say something that we've said that maybe resonated with you, or how you would like to connect, based on what we're doing. And set that time up and see, if we have time available to meet with you so we can talk about different ways we can work together. I would tell people, utilize this platform, get in the chat room, start responding to what we're saying and putting yourself out there, getting your name out there, right? Also looking at other things that you have going on and how we can help you, right? How we could bring value to you. If you might have an event, or you might have a book club, or you might have something that you need a speaker to come to for your event, right? Don't be afraid to shoot your shot. If you need a speaker or wanting us to come and work with you. And then, as Charlene said again, and I've said multiple times throughout this summit, is that look and see what we have going on and how you can bring value and how you can connect with us too, right? That's what I would say, and build it from there. And really, when you start the conversation, genuinely get to know the person, right? Because I always tell people, make sure that you genuinely get to know them so you can see if that's the kind of person you would like to work with before you jump right into business, right? You want to get to know the person that you're working with. You want to know their character. You want to know, how they think, what their values are, what their morals are, right? To make sure y'all are in alignment. Alignment is everything, right? I love collaboration and networking, but I have had some collaborations where, hey, it wasn't a good fit, right? So you want to make sure you're not going to always get it right. But if you can, for the majority of the time, get it right, do your research and figure out, is that the person that you would like to work with and connect with and collaborate with longevity? Because you should always be looking for relationships that are longevity. Short-term relationships don't get you far, right? All right. You want to be able to think of different ways to nurture those relationships and continue to grow those.
That's good. When you're networking, you want to be strategic. In marketing, they use this term called USP, which is really your unique selling position. But you can also think of it as your unique sharing position. What are you going to share with somebody so that they can take away and be better off after that conversation? Every conversation, you should be thinking about that because it can be different depending on the person that you are talking to. So, Dr. Ashley Little, what do you typically share with people when you network? Because I know people are thinking, I have no idea. Should I talk about my degrees, my jobs? How do I start? Where do you usually start?
Oh, hey, I usually start with talking about them, right? I always tell people, take it off you. It's not about you, right? You should be talking about them. The conversation is about the person you want to connect with, right? And so, I remember meeting one of my mentors, Bro Baffert, connecting with him. And I had to be very persistent and consistent to get that door open. Okay. That's why I'm telling you, don't be discouraged if people take their time because they're looking and watching you too to see if they should even respond. Okay. I'm just being honest. And so I remember connecting with my mentor for the first time a couple years ago. And during the time of me waiting on his response, right? Because I knew that was somebody I wanted to work with. He has worked with some amazing people and have really taken them to the next level. And I said, hey, I have to work with Bro Baffert. Like I know he can open doors to me. I know connecting with him, I can bring value to his platform. He can bring value to mine. It will be great. I know that I'm doing the work, right? Because I've seen some of the people and some of the results that he has mentored and coached. And so when I finally got him on the phone, we talked about, hey, one of his top conferences that he throw every year, which is Power Networking with him and Dr. George Frazier. So we talked about that. We talked about, his journey, right? How he started out. So I really got to know him, right? So when I got the call and I was able to get the appointment on the calendar, I was super excited because I had been waiting on this call and I had did my research. That's why I tell you research is essential because it can really give you starting points to other conversations. But the main part of my conversation with him was really genuinely getting to know him. I wanted to know about his journey, how he started out, how he got to where he got to, right? I want to know, what are some tips he would give me on my journey of getting to the next level, right? And then also, I told him some ways that I could help him and I could open doors to him. I invited him to my platform. I wanted to interview him. I wanted to bring him to my platform. I featured him in my magazine. He was one of my front covers. I also featured him in another one of my magazines, right? I also recommended him for different opportunities that I seen that I thought he would be great for. So you see what I'm saying? I looked at ways I could bring value, right? And so that's what I would tell people, that's really the way to go when you're wanting to connect, you're wanting to get to that next level. Always talk about that person. Figure out who that person is. Everybody loves to talk about themselves. And he's still my mentor to this day. And he has been a big part of my journey. Yeah. Yeah.
Change the conversation. Talk about them instead of focusing on you. That helps. And I think that can help with the nerves as well. If you're dealing with anxiety and don't know what to say, ask something about somebody else so that you can genuinely get to know them better. Now, what do you think about elevator pitches? Should everybody start thinking about their 30-second elevator pitch just in case they meet somebody on the street that they've always wanted to talk to?
You know, I'm a little different on that. I definitely think you should have your elevator pitch, have your 30 seconds, but make sure it's valuable, right? But also, I'm all about building, really genuinely wanting to have those conversations too with that person if they have the time, right? So I would say it would go either way, but definitely when you're creating your elevator pitch, make sure it's genuine. People can feel if it's fake or if it's not real, right? So make sure when you're developing the elevator pitch that it's genuine and it's really getting to the point so that what you want the person to know about you, right? Or what you want the person to know about why you want to connect with them and why you want to work with them and why you want to build that relationship with them. So really think that elevator pitch through, but make sure it comes through in a genuine manner.
That makes sense, because I know sometimes it's easy to just forget everything you've been doing. When you see somebody on the spot, you're like, oh my God, I wish I would have said this.
Right.
But I didn't have anything to say at all.
Right. Because you were stuck. Right. And it happens.
Right.
And it happens. And that's why I said, you can go with that way, or you can just start the conversation and see where it goes. Right. Take that deep breath. How are you? I saw you on social media. I've been following you for a long time. I'm excited to finally meet you in person. I see that you have this amazing power networking conference. I've always wanted to attend it, but whatever might have happened that you didn't attend it. I know y'all have had some amazing speakers on there that I love as well, like Dr. George Frazier, like Dr. Dennis Kimbrough. I think y'all are amazing. Tell me more about your journey. How did you get there? You can start it that way, so they'll know that, hey, you really have been doing the work, right? You've been doing your research, right? You've been following them. You're really into what they're doing, right? Or I see that you have a live coming up in 2 weeks. Is there anything that you might need? Anything that I can help you with? These are some things that I do. I'm NPR and media. I have a platform for, where I interview amazing people throughout the world. I would love to interview you on my platforms to help you promote your events, right? I would love to feature you in my magazine to highlight you and all the amazing things that you're doing, because you've done amazing things throughout your journey. And I would like to highlight you and bring you into my audience and open doors for you as well. You see what I'm saying? I'm making it all about them. I'm not talking about me.
That makes sense. Well, I appreciate all your tips, Dr. Ashley Little.
Yes.
Definitely taking a lot of notes and thinking about my goals for the new year. Are
Yes.
there any other tips or advice that you would like to share with us as we start creating our New Year's goals and plans?
Make sure you execute. I always tell people we come into the new year, everybody does it, right? New year, new me. We write down all these things. Execute. Right? We talk. We talk a lot. I would tell everybody, make it your year of execution. Make it your year of execution. Whatever you're going to put on that vision board, do it. Right? No matter the outcome, jump out there, take the risk, and do it. At least you can say you did it. Right? And execute. If on your resolution board, your vision board, if it is to build more relationships and connect with more people, make sure you do it. For some people, it's easy. That might be what you do. For some people, it might be challenging, right? But be okay with being uncomfortable. Take baby steps if you need to. Like I said, start off on social media, start sending DMs, sending messages, attend your first networking event, join clubs, go to conferences, right? Those are the best places to meet people that you would like to connect with, right? Okay. Like I said, start doing your research, seeing what people have going on and how you can bring value to them, vice versa. But I would tell everybody, make it your year of execution.
All right. Be okay being uncomfortable. Start adding value. Do your research and make it your year of execution. Thank you so much, Dr. Ashley Little, for joining us for the Wealth, Health, and Self-Care Summit.
Thank you so much for this amazing opportunity. As I said, she's a prime example, Charlene. Charlene, I have been knowing her for years now. We met on social media, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've sent her messages, Have it always been a quick response? No, because I'm sure she was doing her research on me too to see who I was, right? And so we built a relationship and we've been going for years now. I've seen
Yes.
all the amazing things that Charlene has done. I've invited her to my platform. I featured her. I always came to her with how I could bring value to her, how I could add value to her. Even when I got her email about this opportunity, I sent my pitch in, right? I shot my shot, right? That's what I'm saying. This is a relationship right here, right now, me and Charlene, that we developed off of social media.
That is
Okay.
so true. Just keep going. Put
Yeah.
yourself out there. You never know when it will happen, but when it does happen, it's
Yes.
usually greater than you expected.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm thankful for
Yes.
this relationship. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you. Have an
Yes.
amazing year ahead.
Yes, you too. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow, wow, wow. I hope you were taking notes. Type in the comments one thing you are going to do after listening to those sessions from the Wealth, Health, and Self-Care Summit. Wow, absolutely love it. Networking, executing. What is one thing you are going to do to be better than you were yesterday? Oh, this is so exciting. I love it. I love growth. I love achieving goals, and I love working with other people in order to make it happen. So this wraps up the first part of our Wealth, Health, and Self-Care Summit. Type in the comments, let us know how you're feeling, what you thought about it, and don't forget to connect with our speakers. We are doing this so that you can start your networking journey. There is somebody on this summit who can help you get from where you are to where you want to be, or maybe there are a team of people who can help you. So make sure you connect, right? Dr. Ashley Little said, follow up. That's key. Follow up within the next 72 hours. So take notes. Identify those similarities, right? What do you want to talk to these people about? What value do you want to add? How will you make a difference in someone else's life? So make sure you subscribe to the Wealthy Women Daily YouTube channel here. You can follow me on Instagram if you are interested in being a speaker in the future. Let us know what your speaking talents are, what your gifts are. What gifts do you want to share with the world? Let us know. And right now we are about to take a 5-minute break so that we can give our speakers a chance to come up, get ready for the next half of the Wealth, Health, and Self-Care Summit. But during your break, make sure you connect with our speakers and don't forget to sign up for the free 3-day investing challenge. It's your chance to start the new year off right, earn some prizes. You may get a copy of my book, Dividends Are a Queen's Best Friend. I'm giving that away. So we have so much more in store for you because we want to give back. We want to give back and we want to help you achieve your goals. So make sure you connect with our amazing speakers. Subscribe to the Wealthy Women Daily YouTube channel. And don't forget to claim your spot for the 3-day investing challenge. It's free. You'll get all types of information to help you level up in your finances. All right. I'll see you in 5 minutes. Welcome back to the Wealth, Health, and Self-Care Summit. So for part 2, you can look forward to working on your money plan. We have a certified financial planner, Jovan Johnson, who's going to help dive into what you should be thinking about when it comes to your finances right now and tomorrow. So you don't want to miss out on that. That's coming up in a few minutes. And then we'll wrap it up with self-care. We went through a list of things. You're probably exhausted just from thinking about that list. So we want to make sure you are incorporating self-care into everything you do. So our last speaker will wrap it up by sharing some self-care tips that you can use right now to get yourself in the right state of mind to do all the things that are on your to-do list that will matter and push you forward in the new year. And I hope you signed up for the investing challenge so that you can take it up to the next level after this summit. All right, so we have 2 more speakers left. I'm really excited to share our speakers with you. All right. We have Jovan Johnson here with us. He is the founder of Peace of Wealth Planning, and he is a CPA, PFS, trying to remember all the acronyms, MBA, and CFP, and there may be more, but I'm going to bring Jovan up so that he can tell you what those acronyms mean and how he got started. Hi, Jovan.
Hi, how are you doing?
I am doing great. I'm really looking to diving into this conversation about women and money. But first, let's hear more about you and your background.
Okay, so currently I have Peace Wealth Planning as the firm that I run with my wife. And in that firm, we essentially help business owners on the business side take care of all their accounting needs. We like to say we're small business advisors. But then also we kind of offer comprehensive financial planning services on the individual side, whether that is investment management, tax planning, retirement planning, estate planning, you name it. So essentially, we're like the personal CFOs when it comes to your individual life. And then also we help small business owners on that side as well. So essentially, that's what I do in the business with my wife. And then I'm also a PhD student at UGA in accounting.
Wow, that's very impressive. And working on money or working with people to help them with their financial situation is so important because we are in an environment where people are losing their homes, they're losing their jobs, their retirement balances are shrinking. And so we need answers. And so I'm so glad that you are there for people. But let's start with the basics. I know you work with women a lot. So what are some trends that you see among the women that you work with?
So I would say probably, there are many trends, but the biggest trend I see is women are really stepping up and taking over, leadership roles. They're making a lot of money. They're becoming executives, which is awesome. So they're really killing it. And in a lot of households, you'll notice now the woman is the primary breadwinner. And what does that mean? And then also, I would say a lot of single women that reach that status before they find somebody, it becomes challenging to find a spouse when they are at that point where they're making all this money, they're executive, because I think there's an interesting conversation of equally yoked, which we can talk about later, but it's interesting dynamics when you have the women reach that status before they find that significant other.
Ooh, okay. Yes, that is a good conversation to have because when you're a woman and you're being told that you need to work hard, you need to get your education, get a good job, climb the ladder, and then you look around and you don't have a spouse to help you with all of that. And some people are comfortable maybe not having that spouse or that as they climb the ladder, but some people yearn for that. So what are your recommendations? I know that's a hard question to tackle.
Yeah, it really is, because I think it is tough, because I feel like a lot of, in the cases I've seen, men are verbally okay with that if they have a significant other that makes more than them. But I think there are some internal things that may disagree with that, So I think it's very challenging, because I've seen women that, reach that status, make all this money, and they try to date someone that may not make as much. And it is a challenging dynamic. especially I've seen the other side where they have gotten a divorce and you see that husband trying to tag on to some additional, of that money that that woman has built up. So it becomes very interesting. So I would say for a woman, financial literacy and education, on their own is so important, where they have to kind of make sure they have their things in order. What do they want in a man? Do they want that person to be equally yoked? If not, they may need to take some additional steps to protect themselves, because we don't want, if something was to happen, that individual to take everything they built up by themselves.
Yeah, so let's talk about that buildup. Let's start with the individual, right? What should people in general be doing to prepare themselves for a financially secure future, or even have a good life right now?
That is true. Yes, I would say right now, you know, regardless of, the significant other, the spouse, I would say making sure that, assume that you are building for you. You are thinking about retirement for you. So I would say right now, creating, savings habits, have a budget set in place. Make sure you are paying yourself first. Start saving towards retirement, maybe have a taxable account, building up some investments and assets on your own. Maybe consider, I know some people like to wait until they find their significant other to purchase a home. I would say, maybe you don't have to do that. I would say make a plan now to still purchase your home. So really just making sure that you have your own financial plan set up, assuming that you are single. And then we will deal with adding on that significant other later to that plan if you get to that point. But for now, make sure that you are creating your financial plan. What does your retirement look like? What do you want for you?
I like that, because people typically say that you want to meet your significant other at your happiest self, because then you can attract somebody who mirrors that and reflects that. So let's start from the basics. You mentioned savings, budgeting, building on assets, possibly purchasing a home, retirement. And I know a lot of women are probably looking at that or thinking about it and like, whoa, okay, where do I start? So let's talk about the emergency fund. What is that? How much should we put into an emergency fund, and why is it needed?
Oh my gosh, emergency fund, like you said, before we dive into anything else, I like to just say it's your safety net. It's your fallback plan. If you have an unexpected expense, emergency, healthcare emergency, you want to have a fallback fund that can take care of you. You don't want to, take on high interest credit card debt or anything like that. So this fund is going to be your safety net for something, has unexpectedly happened, and it could blow up your financial situation, but that's going to be there as your fallback. So essentially, 3 to 6 months is the typical recommendation for the average situation. But I think that is, it's an okay recommendation, but every individual, I would say it depends on the individual situation. Do you have children? Do you have a stable job? Do you work in a stable career field? So I would say in a typical situation, 3 to 6 months, but I would say for safety and security for some people, 12 months may be a better recommendation. And essentially you're saving, I would say, your essential expenses. So typically you look at your monthly budget, you see how much you spend per month on the essentials to kind of sustain your lifestyle, and you would multiply that times 3, 6, or 12. I'm more in the 12-month ballpark, but I'm a little bit more conservative when it comes to risk. So I would say it just depends on the individual. Do you have kids? Do you have a stable job? Do you have a home? So those kind of decisions will go into figuring out how many months to save for.
So let's say you are single, don't have any kids yet, and you're trying to figure out the best amount of money to put into an emergency fund. So you're looking at your essentials, you're looking at your housing cost, right? Maybe it costs $2,000 to keep up your home. And then maybe your health insurance, your car insurance. Are there any other essentials that we should add to the list? Should we add our hair expenses, hair and nails? Because, us ladies like to get our hair and nails done. Should that be included in the emergency fund?
I would say yes, but maybe on the back end. So like you said, the housing costs, food, utilities, phone bill, travel, car, make sure all those things get in that number first. And then I would say I would add in here and stuff, because I do believe that emergency fund, just me personally, I believe it should encompass things that kind of bring you joy and keep you sane almost. Because I think that is important.
Yeah, and I don't think a lot of people think about this because let's say you got laid off and you need to tap into that emergency fund. You might need emergency funds to get your hair done so that you can go out and get that job that you want.
That's so true. No, that is so true. That's why I think, it should be almost mirrored to what you spend. Like, what are you spending right now per month? I would say if you want to put up, be on the safe side, just multiply that times 3, 6, or 12.
Yeah. So let's say we have $5,000. We realize that we are spending $5,000 a month. So if we want a 3-month emergency fund, that's going to be $15,000. Where do we put that money?
I recommend high yield savings account. Some people are more risky, but I think for the average person, they should put it in the high yield savings account. Typically, you want to make sure it's FDIC insured. So you want to have safety. That being insured is going to make sure that anything happens, you will still be able to get that money. It offers liquidity. So that means that at any point when you need this money, it is a quick process to go to the bank, pull it out, send it straight to your checking, then pull it out. But essentially, you should be able to access that money fairly quickly. And then the high yield is going to offer a high interest rate. So I think that's what you want to look for, is liquidity, safety, and something that's going to try to keep up with inflation, which high yield savings accounts are pretty good with that. So I would say that is where I would put an emergency fund, because you just don't know when an emergency will happen.
Would an emergency fund look different if you are single versus if you are married with kids?
Yes, I would say married with kids, well, that also depends too, but I would say yes, in the sense that if you're married, if your spouse is, earning a significant wage and they're at a stable job as well, then maybe you could say, okay, let's maybe do 3, 4, or 5 months. I think you have more wiggle room because the chances of you both losing your job at the same time is probably, pretty low. But when you're single, you don't have anybody else to fall back on. So you want to ensure that you have money to sustain you until you find that next job. So I would say typically when you're married, that allows a little bit of wiggle room when it comes to, how many months you want to have saved up. But then kids kind of dampen into that, where you want to extend it a little bit, because with kids, we know there are a lot of hidden costs, unexpected costs, injuries, healthcare. I mean, there's so much to consider. So I would say kids probably will increase that amount that you want to have saved up.
Now, what's the best way to build up that emergency fund? Because thinking about saving $15,000, $30,000, $45,000 seem like impossible to many people, right? If you don't have a lot of discretionary funds available. So how do you get started with that? Where do you start?
I like to tell people that it is a recommendation. It is a goal. It is not something that, you have to have right now. So I don't want people to feel pressured like, oh man, I don't have the emergency fund. This is something that you're striving to do. You build towards it. It's okay if it takes you 3, 4, 5 years to build that. That is okay. You want to just make sure that you are working towards it. So make sure that it is a part of your budget line item. Start small, see what you can afford to save in it. And then just kind of set goals where you're like, okay, every month I'm going to put, I don't know, $300 in it per month. Yes, that's only $3,600 per year, but you look up 5 years, you have an emergency fund built up. So I would say start small, use any kind of windfalls that would kind of speed up that process, whether that's a bonus, a raise, tax refund, credit card, cash reward points are pretty good that you can, automatically redeem $25, $50 per month to send to that account. So I would say just take it slow. It's not something that you need all at once. Just make sure it's like a monthly automated savings that's going into that to build it up.
So since building an emergency fund could take months or years, should I be working on other financial goals while I'm building up that fund?
Yes. Yeah, 100%. I would definitely say while you're building, maybe I like to say when it comes to retirement, if you have a match offered, at least contribute to get the match, you get the free money. So I would say that's something that I would do regardless if I'm building an emergency fund, paying off credit card debt, get that match. That is something that you want to do. So I would say it takes juggling. You want to do a couple things at once. You don't want to just like throw all your money at the emergency fund. You want to do that a little bit, maybe save towards retirement, pay off credit card debt. And then of course, if you have other big goals like saving towards a home. So again, it comes back to creating an intentional budget. Starting with, okay, if I make this per month, I want to make sure that every dollar is accounted for, whether that's being saved, spent on necessary expenses, fun expenses. I would just make sure that every dollar is accounted for in your budget.
Create an intentional budget. I like that. And I realize that you don't always have to create the budget on your own. You mentioned employer benefits like a 401k. If your employer offers a match, take advantage of it because that can help you save for your retirement. You don't have to take on that task on your own. I like to think of it as having a wealth partner, right? Look around and see who are your wealth partners on this journey so that you can get help building your portfolio. I love it. Can you talk more about the employer-sponsored benefits? Because that may be news to some people. I know when I started working in corporate America, I didn't understand how a 401k worked, how vesting worked. And if I was actually saving enough, people were saying, make sure you're saving enough for retirement. Well, how much do I need 40 years from now when I retire? Can you break that down for us?
Yeah, that is so important. So essentially, if you have this benefit, there are many employer-sponsored benefits that you want to, take advantage of, such as 401k or 403b. If you are working for the government or a nonprofit, you may see a 403b or a 457 plan. But essentially, they're very similar: 401k, 403b, 457. So essentially, you are able to make pre-tax contributions. Sometimes Roth contributions are after-tax contributions. So essentially, you would be able to save pre-tax dollars into this account. So that means that you are not going to pay any taxes on the dollars that are going in. You'll worry about that later in retirement. So this is one way to have tax savings, because we know when you're getting your salary payments, that I think that shocks people the most once they get their first paycheck, is to see how much is taken out of taxes. So if you want to look for a way to reduce that, why not save towards retirement into these employer-sponsored retirement plans? Some employers offer a match. So what that means is, of course, it depends on what kind of match they offer, but that's free money. You say, I contribute this amount, and then my employer is going to contribute X amount as well. So like you say, you have a wealth partner. So that's just one employer-sponsored benefit that can really help you save money on taxes and save towards retirement. They do have others, such as the HSA, the FSA, but that's some other strategies that can be utilized to save on taxes.
So I'm curious, let's say you are a single woman and you are making sure you're maxing out or at least contributing enough to get your employer match, but then you meet this man and he's not contributing to his retirement savings yet. How do you think about that? Is that a big deal? Should you be concerned?
Yeah, I would be concerned, because the thing is, when you have a spouse, now it becomes a joint retirement. And of course, I would always recommend doing some kind of retirement plan or projection, whether that's through a financial advisor. They have some that you can do online yourself. Sometimes your company offers, some kind of, employer benefit where you can get that done. But I would say that's probably step one, is doing a retirement projection to see, you want to retire by X age. You're currently contributing this amount per month. Your average return is this. Am I meeting that threshold, or do I need to make some adjustments to reach my ideal retirement? So that would be step one. But the issue is, when you have a spouse, the expenses in retirement will now be doubled, if not more. And if they're not saving towards retirement, you still, now you have to fund retirement for two people versus one, which is going to put pressure on you to save more towards retirement accounts. So I would say that would create some issues if you guys plan to live and pay for retirement expenses together. So I think that would create a lot of issues where, it's kind of all on you to fund that retirement lifestyle.
So we talked about emergency fund and looking at your employer-sponsored benefits. Should you meet with a financial advisor or planner before you get married to discuss those two pieces of the financial plan?
I would say yes, if you're comfortable with that. I would say you can reach out to a financial planner on your own, or if that is, overwhelming. Sometimes companies do have, some company that they work with where you can access a financial planner. But I do think it is necessary and helpful too. You don't have to hire them for ongoing services, but just sit down initially to have them kind of look at, okay, this is what you have, this is what you're thinking, these are some of your goals, and they can kind of help you put a comprehensive plan together to help you have the necessary steps and actions to take to reach your goals. Because the thing is, you don't have to do it all by yourself. It is overwhelming. You don't want to miss out on, some opportunities or some of the financial pieces. You don't want to overlook that. So it's always good to have a third party come in, see what you have, see what your goals are, and just make sure that you're doing everything you need to do to achieve those goals.
I have to ask you this question because many people are dating more in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. Is this a question to bring up on the first date? Should you ask about somebody's retirement accounts anywhere from the first date or to the 10th date? Is that a topic?
First date, probably not, but eventually when it gets serious, sadly, I do think that is a conversation to have because it impacts you and your lifestyle and, what you're spending your money on. And I know if you don't talk about it in the early stages, it probably can and will become a problem because, it impacts your lifestyle. If they're not saving towards retirement and you were, traveling the world, you're going to international places once every quarter. Now you might have to sacrifice 2 of those trips to help, catch them up on retirement. So I think conversations should be had because it impacts you and your lifestyle. And we all know as we get older, it's very hard to be willing to adjust our lifestyle.
That's a good point. So the partner that you date or marry could potentially impact the lifestyle that you have later on. So you have to be crystal clear about the lifestyle you want and determine if that person, maybe on the first date, if that person aligns with the lifestyle you think you want 10, 20, 30 years from now.
100%. Oh yeah, that's so important. I think that's probably the biggest hurdle that I see women have to overcome when they reach that status. They have a certain lifestyle they want to maintain. You come in with somebody that may make, 1/3 of what you make, and they may be more frugal. They may not spend a lot because they don't make a lot. How do you make that work? That's very challenging.
It is. Okay, so we've talked about emergency fund, employer-sponsored benefits like 401ks for retirement. What's next on that financial ladder?
So on the financial ladder, like you said, you take care of the emergency fund, you have the retirement set up. Then next up, I would say you are thinking about things such as, do you want to purchase a home or do you want to rent? Because I know that is actually pretty popular with some single women that make decent money. They choose to rent instead of buy a home, which, we can discuss some of those reasons I've heard. But I would say thinking about buying a home, or maybe you want to think about opening up a taxable brokerage account where you can have I like to call it can be a retirement early account. It can be anything you want it to be. Maybe you just want to have investments growing that you can tap into before age 59 and a half. Or maybe you want to create, that fund for something else. But essentially, I would start thinking about things such as, the home, a taxable brokerage account, and thinking about other things you want to do outside of only retirement, emergency fund. Of course, you want to think about estate planning and all that as well.
Okay, so we have the taxable brokerage account, and it's pretty easy to get a taxable brokerage account now. You can go online, put your information in, and ta-da, you have an account. I think the hardest part is selecting what assets you want to add to your account. Is that when a financial planner should be called upon to help with that if you have no financial education or no experience with investing?
I would say yes, but I also would challenge anyone to still try to obtain that knowledge themselves, just the basics. You don't have to understand it all, but I would say even before approaching a financial planner, just try to understand the basics. I don't believe in just hiring somebody, with zero knowledge, because I wouldn't want anybody to be taken advantage of, or, some advisors are not, they will charge you a lot of fees. So I would say try to learn the basics before you even approach a financial planner. But that would be one option, is approach a financial planner. Or some people are very simplistic where they can just pick a target date fund or something very simple and just let it ride. So there are options for people that are like, I don't want to hire a planner, but I want to keep it simple, hands off as much as possible. They have options for that as well. So you can have an advisor help you choose investments. You can research it, do it yourself. Or some advisors can just help you on an hourly basis where they can just give you recommendations. That's an option as well.
Can you explain the basics of the options that you have? Because I know that can be overwhelming to start with. Like, do I need a target date fund, an index fund? What is an ETF? Should I invest in individual stocks? Where does someone start their investing journey?
I would say it comes down to risk tolerance. So you have to know yourself. Are you very tolerant when it comes to risk? How do you feel about the stock market? If we have a recession, are you the type where I'm comfortable with if I see negative 30%, my money's down 30%? Are you more on the lines of, I would be more comfortable with 10%? So I would say kind of they have surveys online that you can, kind of fill out, but essentially determine your risk tolerance will be one. And then two, timeline. Are you 20 trying to save for 60? Or are you 45 trying to save for 60? Because those are two different things. Timeline is going to impact the type of investments you need to consider as well. So I would say timeline, risk tolerance, and then purpose for the funds. I think those three, you want to start answering those three questions, and that will kind of help you determine, okay, now let me think about what investment options works best for that.
Should a person have a certain amount of money before they invest?
No, no, 100% no. I would say some advisors are, they have requirements, but there are ways around that. There are some advisors that don't care about that. They just want to help you on an hourly basis. But no, I don't care if you have $100, $1,000. There's no limitations on when you should get started investing. The thing that you want is compound interest. You want time. That's what you want. It's not about the amount of money, it's the time.
So get started as soon as possible with any amount that you have, right? Start where you are. You don't need thousands to get started. If you have $10, you can transfer that money from your checking account to your taxable brokerage account and keep those recurring transfers going so that when you're ready to go shopping and buy your favorite assets, you can tap into your account and make that transaction.
I agree, 1,000%.
Definitely. Is there anything else that we should consider? So we have an emergency fund, employer-sponsored benefits, taxable brokerage account, finding out if you need or if you want a home or to rent. Did we talk about paying off debt? I think you meant no. I think that's a big one. Some people are like, I can't do any of that because I'm in debt.
Yeah, that is, I feel like when you're in debt, the challenge is credit card, if it's high interest debt, the credit card interest rates, honestly, they outpace any kind of mortgage rate. They outpace the average return rate you can get. So the return on each dollar in a lot of cases will be much higher if you have to pay off the credit card interest debt. So if you have some kind of credit card debt or high interest debt, whether that's from a personal loan, I would say you need to fit that into this conversation, into the budget, and make that a priority, because again, the return on each dollar is going to be higher for you to pay off that debt versus saying, okay, let me start investing and doing all these other things. So if you have debt in the picture, I would say then you want to make sure you're still saving towards emergency fund. I don't care if you have debt. You want to tackle that debt, but still save towards that emergency fund, because that's just a necessity no matter what. You still want to get that match. I tell people, even with debt, you want to pay off the debt, but still get that match because that's free money. And then after you get the match in the emergency fund, I would say turn your attention to focusing on paying down that debt. And then once you get the debt to a reasonable point, then we can start thinking about investing outside of the retirement account.
Now, let's say you become debt-free. How does that impact the way you go into a relationship? If you notice that a potential partner has debt, is that an automatic no, stay away from that person, or find out their game plan, work with a financial planner to see if they have the potential to pay that off, or if it could potentially impact you in the long term?
Yeah, I would 100% say it does matter. Also, it depends on what kind of debt, because if it's student loan debt, essentially you'll see how that impacts, some people decide on how they want to file for taxes. It impacts all of that. If you file single versus married. So it makes it very complicated when somebody does have debt. So I would say before you want to get married to that person, that is a serious conversation you want to have of like, okay, how is this person going to handle this debt? Or as a team, maybe you're okay with kind of joining up with that person and saying, okay, I'm okay with us jointly tackling this debt. Or you want to determine if you want that person to handle it themselves. That's a conversation you need to have. Maybe work with a third party like a financial planner, so you can make sure that you're on one accord. If they're going to pay that debt, make sure they have it a part of their budget and it's not going to impact your lifestyle and how you're going to live your life. So I would say talking with that person to determine, is this going to be a joint goal, or this is going to be something that they need to tackle individually, even if you guys decide to get married.
And debt also impacts your credit score. So when should we have the credit score conversation with a potential partner?
I would say definitely when the dating comes serious. I think that is a conversation you want to have, because credit score just impacts so many different things, whether that's, if you're buying a home, the interest rate for your home, whether that's opening up a business credit card, personal credit card, if you want to buy a rental property. It just impacts so many different things, where if that individual has debt and they're not paying that debt on time, or they are defaulting on debt, that's going to impact your credit score as a married couple if you filing jointly. So you just want to think about, have that conversation of, if they have debt, it's not that it's a bad thing and you shouldn't get married, because if they're paying it on time and they're taking care of it, their credit should still be fine. So it's just the conversation that you should have before things get very serious.
I think we need an entire conversation talking about debt and credit and how to manage that if you are going into a relationship with somebody who may not be familiar with that process. So that's a separate conversation that I would love to dive into later. But it sounds like we need a checklist for women. Like, if you are looking at all these things, if you are getting your financial house in order, you're making sure you're checking the box on your emergency fund, employer sponsored benefits, thinking about your long-term housing plans, and everything else we discussed. What should we expect in a partner? Are we being too hard on someone if we have this long list of to-dos for someone we are looking to marry?
See, I would say, I feel like that at the end of the day, the woman kind of has to focus on herself and have her own goals going for herself, because even if they meet that partner, I still feel like they shouldn't have to alter their lifestyle. So I don't fault the woman. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that is okay for you to have your goals that you're, achieving, and you have high expectations for a spouse. I think that is okay, because you have built up this lifestyle for yourself. You deserve to continue living that lifestyle. If you're willing to make sacrifices or changes, then that's different. But I think that is okay to have high expectations for a significant other, just to see if they're equally yoked and, they're on par with the game plan. I think that is totally fine. It's just all about communicating that with the individual.
Okay, I know some women are probably wondering this. They're like, okay, I want to get my finances in order, and I will have my finances in order. So how do I find a mate who's going to match that? What are the to-dos? Are there certain organizations to join? Are there certain conferences to attend? What's the secret sauce, Jovan?
I think the tough part is try to see how this. So it depends on the thing is, we all have preferences. So I feel like, okay, for example, if you are a Black woman and you're killing it and you're making a lot of money and you achieved a certain level and you're an executive, the thing is, it depends on the scope of what you're looking for. So of course you want them equally yoked when it comes to finances, preferably. So maybe they don't have to make as much as you, but they have kind of their things together. And then if you're looking for example, a Black male. So now I feel like your pool is limited, because if you want equally yoked, financial situation is kind of similar, and you're looking for a Black male, I think the pool is limited. So I would just say you might have to expand the scope of your preferences and what you're looking for, possibly. If not, I feel like you might have to join organizations where you can meet people of similar status, possibly. I feel like that's probably the most challenging part is a lot of the women at that status have limited scope of what they're looking for. So it's already hard enough to find somebody, of financial status that's similar to yours. So I think that makes probably the biggest challenge of how do I find somebody that meet my preferences. We have look preferences. They got to have a certain financial status. Of course, they got to be a certain age. That's why once you limit all that, your scope is very small of, meeting someone.
That's a lot to consider.
Yeah.
If anyone has any questions for Jovan, please type them in the comments because I'm sure there are so many questions about dating and finances and marriage and retirement, so much to think about. But I am so grateful that you came on the Wealthy Women Daily Show, Jovan, to discuss this much needed topic. Is there anything else that you would like to share with us?
Lastly, I would just say that there are some people that it's okay that if you do choose to get married and you both have reached certain statuses, it's okay to kind of craft your own lane. Like some people decide, okay, let's keep everything separate, or maybe we keep some things separate, some things jointly. I feel like there are ways to make it work, even with different, financial statuses. Even if somebody makes way more than the other, there are ways to make it work. You can decide to keep things separate. At the end of the day, I think you have to decide what works best for you and your spouse, because it may be worth it. There have been marriages that have worked that way. So I think it's just to, determine what works best for you and your significant other. So it's very possible.
This was so good. Some of my key takeaways were having an emergency fund, but really being holistic with what that fund looks like and what it entails. So having your hair expenses included in your emergency fund so that you can go out and get that next job opportunity if you need it. But also talking to a financial planner who can help you and your spouse on this journey, because it can be complicated trying to determine if you should weigh love higher than money. How should you, I don't want to say this, but how should you grade your potential spouse? Right?
Yeah.
Should there be a report card? But having a third party can really help you think about this in an intentional way.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Yeah.
Follow Jovan on LinkedIn at jovanjohnson.com. And Jovan, can you provide your website?
Oh, yes. Thank you. It would be www.piece, that's peaceofwealthplanning.com.
All right. Thanks, Jovan. Have a good one.
You too. Thank you so much.
So we went through a long list of things that you can do to be your best self in the upcoming year. But let's talk about the self-care piece of it, because it's often neglected in the success equation. I'm so excited to bring up Alicia Shaw because she is the self-care queen. She's an author, a blogger, a podcaster, but the roles that she holds dearest to her heart are mom and wife. Welcome, Alicia Shaw. How are you?
I am so good. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, thank you so much for being here, because I know you have a very busy schedule. So can you tell us more about who you are and what you do?
So right now, as you mentioned, I am a mother and I am a wife. I work for corporate America, but my most important job is being a wife and a mom. I actually am an author. And so what came of me becoming an author was wanting to talk about my experiences as being a wife, being a mom, and being a woman, and being able to balance it all. And of course, the number one thing that I've been trying to balance and take care of the most is myself and my soul. So I try to make sure I'm getting in that self care. So all of this kind of accumulates to me becoming an author, because I talk about it in my books that I co authored with other moms and wives who wants to share their stories as well.
Miss Alicia, can you tell us, when did you have time to write 3 books? You said you're working in corporate America, you're a mom, you're a wife. How? How did you do it?
To be honest, I think the times that I was practicing self-care and I was finding time to myself, I was also doing a lot of reflecting. So I spent some nights where I would always wait till the kids were sleeping, the husband's sleeping, and I had kind of uninterrupted time. And I was journaling actually. And then coming from journaling, I began to write things. I wanted to understand at that point, I wanted to understand why I was feeling so tired and so frustrated all the time. So my journaling was really talking about why am I so tired? Why am I so frustrated? And what came of it was just taking on the roles of mom, taking on the roles of wife, and then losing myself in that process. So as I wrote and I journaled, I was able to turn my writings into a book. Well, it was an anthology, so it was other wives and mothers on the books as well. So I didn't have the responsibility of having to do a full book, but I wrote chapters in the book to talk about my experiences. And then I had other women who may have been feeling the same way come in and talk about their experiences as well as being wives and mothers. So the time I was taking to kind of do my self-care kind of created the books and the ideas.
That's very interesting. Interesting. You took your somewhat of a passion, somewhat of a stress relief journey, and turned it in a way to help into a way to help other people do the same. Now, can
I
you
didn't look
tell?
at it that way.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you did. So I know a lot of other women who would love to do that, right? They're moms or they have kids or they're working full time and they're trying to get their books out. How do you get started?
I would just suggest, like I said, journaling. For me, I had to find the time for myself to really not be interrupted. I have girls who love to talk to me, love to play, and love to have mommy time, and also have a husband that I can't neglect as well. So I had to really carve out time for myself. And then during that time is when I focus on my goals, what it is that I wanted to do, what it is that was important to me again, because I definitely didn't want to lose myself and my desires and things that I enjoy. So I used it most of the time it was nighttime, but after a while my daughters on the weekends wanted to stay up late with me as well. So I had to make it early in the mornings where I could get some time to myself to just journal. And the crazy thing about it is when I started focusing on my writing and my goals, people were actually coming out of the woodworks. I was seeing things on Facebook and on Instagram of people publishing books and becoming an author. And I just reached out to say, hey. And then it was actually an opportunity that came about on Facebook looking for people who want to be a part of an anthology. And the anthology at the time was called I Am More Than Enough. And I had been writing and, journaling several weeks when that opportunity came up on Facebook, and I was like, maybe that's something I could jump on. And I jumped on that anthology, and everything that I was journaling up until that point became my chapter for that particular anthology. And that just opened doors for other opportunities. Once I saw that I was able to reach out to people that were writing and a publisher, it just kind of fell into place. So I think once you focus on what it is that you want to do, you'll be surprised what you realize that's out there that actually can help you reach those goals, because I wasn't looking for it, but because I think that was my focus, I saw it when the opportunity came up.
It's powerful what happens when you commit to taking care of you.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
is so powerful. Many people may say, I don't have time to take care of me because I have a long list of to dos. But you know what? You probably don't have time to not take care of you because you have certain gifts in you that need to be shared and will change every piece of your life once you get it out. And so let's talk about self care because some of us don't think we have time for it. And some of us may say, okay, self care is going to get my nails done every month. So, what is self care? Can you explain that?
Yeah, so it's funny that you even brought that up because that was my idea of self-care. I thought self-care was, let me go ahead and and mind you, my daughter is a dancer, so both my daughters were dancers at the time, and I would have to take them to dance class almost every day a week. So when I was getting off work, I was going to dance class, and that was my routine. But there was a nail shop next to the dance class. I'm like, as long as I'm getting my nails done, I'm getting my little petty done, that's my self-care. But what I realized was I was getting those things done, but I was still frustrated. I was still irritated. I was still not feeling happy about my position on my job, and people were still getting on my nerves. So I realized maybe what I was doing wasn't necessarily self-care, because if it was self-care, I wouldn't still be feeling the way that I felt. So one day I was actually at a Valentine's Day brunch hanging out with some other women, and we were talking about self-care. And the question came up was, are we really doing self-care, or are we doing self-maintenance? And I was like, self-maintenance? What is that? So as we were talking about self-maintenance, I felt like I was gearing more towards self-maintenance than I was doing self-care. And self-maintenance in my eyes was, yeah, we're making sure we're looking good on the outside. We're maintaining our image that we put out to other people. We're maintaining our health as far as maybe eating a little bit better or drinking water to make sure our face looks clearer, or whatever the case may be. But are we really doing self-care? And to me, self-care was more so of making sure you're doing some soul care, you're taking care of the inside, you're doing some healing, you're checking out if you're really, really okay. When you're getting your nails done, or if you're getting your pedicure, or even a massage, the outside is being taken care of, and it's cool to feel good on the outside, because sometimes it makes you feel better on the inside. But it wasn't really changing the things that were frustrating me. It wasn't really changing, the feelings of depression. It wasn't changing the anxiety that I was feeling. So I had to really focus on what self-care truly meant to me. And it really did mean me sometimes getting up a little bit early. And actually, I'm not gonna say sometimes, it was a regular, consistently thing that I had to get up early in the morning, journal, pray, read my Bible, whatever it was that I needed to do to make sure I was in the right frame of mind, and I was addressing things that needed to be addressed. And what I realized was, a lot of the times, the things I was frustrated about, if I didn't find a way to deal with them, it would spill over to other things. It would spill over to me being a mother. It would spill over to me being a wife. It would spill over to my job at work. So I had to learn how to address those things, and it took me to get some time to myself in the mornings to see what it is I needed to address. If I could address it and fix it, fix it. If it was something I couldn't change, accept that I couldn't change it, and then move on or figure out a way to cope with it. There was even one point to where I got up every morning and I would walk around the neighborhood just to be out and about to myself, or just to listen to a podcast that was inspiring, or to even pray, or whatever it is that I needed for that moment, so that I can get my mind in a good space. Now I still think that I I need to get my nails done. I still think I need to get, a pedicure, just for me, because it makes me feel good and it makes me look okay. But if I'm not taking care, what's making me irritated, then there's no point of getting it done. So I do think that there's a difference between making sure you're getting your self-care, but also your self-maintenance, because self-maintenance is just maintaining, but self-care is really making sure you're doing the work that helps you feel better.
Sounds like we need a self-care checklist. Like, I love this idea of self-care being soul care and checking
Yeah.
in with yourself. So, Alicia, can you give us some tips so that we can create our self-care plan?
Yeah. So I think there's 5 things that I normally do for myself, and hopefully it can be helpful for you. But the first thing I do is I definitely retreat. And I'm not saying, you get an extravagant retreat that you have to pay tons of money for to do to get away from everyone. Just retreating in like the purest form of, if it's your bathroom, like I say, sometimes it's my bathroom. I have to go sit in there because no one's gonna follow me in the bathroom. But if it's like a bathroom, a place in your bedroom that's a quiet little corner where you can just sit, maybe read, or just even curl up in a blanket, just to get some moments to yourself, to check in, make sure you're good, like be very intentional about what you're taking in. Even if you sit and you're listening to music, be intentional about the music that you're sitting and you're listening to. Is the music making you feel good? Is the music making you feel some type of way? Just taking time to check into yourself and retreat, because I think for women in general, I feel like we're always overly stimulated. We're always either trying to help that person do this, do that, thinking we're superwoman. And a lot of times we just need to be still and retreat and just see what it feels like to be in our own presence. And to me, that feels great, because I love being by myself. I love the peace and quiet. And again, I like to put on some music, depending on what it is, and it makes me feel a whole lot better. Another thing that I do is I make sure that I am reading. I love to read. I think that reading, it just takes me to a different I guess world. Depends on what it is that I'm reading. I love novels, but I also read inspirational books. So those can be helpful because it has tips and whatever, depending on what you're reading. It has tips that you can read to feel better. If it's a novel, you can just get lost in another world and just enjoy that space that you're in. And I know a lot of people don't like reading, but there's Audible. If you're on the go and you're in the car, you can always put in Audible and listen to a story on Audible. But that helps me a lot. It kind of just takes me in a different world. Another thing that's important to me is the people that I surround myself with. I definitely believe that you are the company that you keep. So if you're around people who are always negative, always complaining, always gossiping, you're going to eventually find yourself in a negative space all the time. You're going to find yourself not feeling happy. You're going to find yourself constantly judging other people. And I think it's important that we surround ourselves with people who are going to encourage you and make you feel like you're important, you're worthy. And what I was blessed with is having women in my life who noticed when I wasn't myself or noticed that I was talking a little bit off the wall. They would check me. I remember having a lady that was nearest and dearest to my heart. And she was like, "Girl, everything that you're saying is negative. Like, what's going on?" And the fact that she was able to call me out on it and pray for me and just let me know I'm here. You don't have to bottle all those things in. You can talk to me. You can sit there and sit in silence if we need to sit in silence. But she was really inspirational for me. And she was really empowered. She really empowered me to check myself or to just check on my feelings and my emotions. And if I need to talk to someone, she was always there. So I think you always need that person in your life that's going to check on you when you're not good and not always give you the answers you want to hear, but give you what you need to hear in order to get you out of that space. Another thing that's important is positive affirmations. I know everyone seems to think positive affirmations might be a little bit cheesy, but you have to be careful of what you're telling yourself and what you're allowing other people to tell you as well. I am one person that if I find myself thinking something negative or if I find myself being hard on myself, I'll step back and I kind of like challenge that. Okay, is that really true? What's making you feel that way right now? And then I'll change it. I'll change to whatever positive I can get from that negative thought. But what you tell yourself is very important because you begin to live and feel what you speak. And I definitely believe that whatever you speak, you become. So watch what you're saying to yourself and watch what you allow other people to say to you. And lastly, I think it's important that we give ourselves grace. We are all learning, we're all unlearning things that we may have been taught that we no longer want to follow. And we're kind of figuring it all out as we go. We may be grown, we may think we're grown, but there's still some things that we can give ourselves a little bit of grace for because not everyone's perfect. You're not going to always get it right. You're going to have those days that you're just like, I don't know if I'm going to make it, but just give yourself grace for at least trying and at least making the attempt to be better or to do something differently than what you normally do. So those are the things that I've worked on. Those are things that have helped me with self-care and just making sure that I'm always being aware of who I am and how I'm coming off to other people and if I'm truly, truly taking care of my soul and my spirit.
Those were some really good tips. So let's recap. Number one, retreat. Number two, read. I'm always looking for books to add to my list. Are there any books that you would recommend, Alicia?
So I'm okay. So I'm in like two book clubs. I'm trying to play catch up right now. But the one book club that I am in is the Woman Evolve with Sarah Jakes Roberts.
Ooh,
I'm in that book club, and right now we're reading sorry, right now they're actually reading Tabitha Brown's book, and I've already read that one, so I'm
oh,
trying to find something different. But Tabitha Brown actually has a good book. I
okay.
can't remember the title of it, but Tabitha Brown's book is very good. And you know what I also enjoyed reading was Bamboozled by Jesus,
Mm.
by Yvonne Orji. That was a very good book. Um, what else did I read that was very good? Oh, Destiny by T.D. Jakes. I read that recently. That was a very good book. There's so many. If you can see behind me, there's like a whole bunch of books.
Yes. I,
There's
I
so many
absolutely love
books
it.
that yes, I actually love to read. And I was in two book clubs because the very first book club I was in, we're not reading right now. So I'm like, let me join Sarah Jakes Harper so I can kind of get back into my reading. So I try my best to just keep my mind in a positive space. So I'm always making sure that what I'm taking in or what I'm reading is going to either take me to a positive world with like a little novel, or either inspire me if it's a self-help book.
Yeah, I used to have a book list of books that I would commit to reading every year. And I haven't done that in quite some time because I'm always saying I'm too busy to add my own books that I want to read to my list because I'm always reading other things that I feel like I have to read.
Have to
But
read. Yes.
yes, yes. So now for next year, I want to be more intentional and I absolutely love that list. So for number 3, you said relationships, the people who you spend your time with.
Yes.
I'm trying to remember the guy's name. Jim Rohn. I believe it was Jim Rohn who said, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with.
Yes.
And when I heard about that, I had to count, who am I spending my time with the most? Am I the average of those people? And do I need to switch up some of those relationships in order to become the person that I want to be?
Yeah, and I used to be a counselor a couple years ago, and I used to do drug and alcohol counseling. And one of the things that a lot of people struggle with was their surroundings, the people that they were with. And I was like, if you're the smartest person in your group, you're in the wrong group because you're not going to learn anything. You're not going to learn, and they're not going to try to encourage you to do anything other than what you're doing. And you never realize how much the people you're around influence how you are on a daily basis.
Yeah, so that's also a new year goal. Who do you want to be around? And even if you don't know these people, put down a potential friend list. What type of people would you like to meet or would you want in your circle? Because that can
Yes.
influence how your year is shaped.
Yeah,
Number
definitely.
4, positive affirmations. I used to do that all the time. What are some of your favorite positive affirmations, Alicia?
I always say I am enough because I think as women, we always feel like we're not giving. So yeah, I think we feel like we don't give enough when we are enough. So I say that a lot. I'm enough. Also say that I'm doing my best because again, I can be my toughest critic and I'm all like, oh, if I can just do this, or if I can just do that. But I'm like, I'm doing my best, Alicia. You're okay. That's another one I'll say. You're okay. You're okay.
Yes.
Because I can get a little bit extra and I have to remind myself, you're okay.
Yes. We need those reminders, even if it comes from ourselves.
Yes,
Maybe
yes,
having
they're very
sticky
helpful.
notes on your desk to remind you, hi, you are enough. It's okay. Calm down.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
And number 5, give yourself grace. That's so important. Don't beat yourself up, especially if you think the world beats you up. Give yourself some grace. Don't do what the world is doing. Allow yourself the time, the space to be okay as you are, and that
Yeah,
commitment to grow as you go.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. That's something I had to learn, um, I would say within the last year, because I think we put pressure on ourselves that no one else puts on us. And well, for me, I'm saying we, but I'm going to speak for myself. I put a lot of pressure on myself that no one ever really said anything. I had to do this or I do that, but I felt like I needed to. That I had to realize, girl, like just give yourself grace. No one's putting that on you but yourself. And learning that has definitely shifted my mindset and has allowed me to enjoy the moment. It has
Mm,
allowed me to be a little bit happier, a little bit at peace, because at the end of the day, I know I'm doing the best that I can. So
yes, you
that
are
was just a
speaking for
recently
us.
learned thing.
Yes, yes. I feel the same way. And I know so many other women are feeling that. If you have any questions for Alicia, please type in the comments. Alicia, this was great. Are there any words that you want to leave us with?
The only thing I would just say is kind of what you just said, the grace thing. I think grace is very important because the world is already tough. People are already criticizing you for whatever reason, or you're already criticizing yourself. And for the most part, God created you how He wanted you to be. He gave you every single characteristic that He felt that you needed to deal with the life that you have. So, who are you to give yourself a hard time, or who are you to judge yourself for whatever expectations you yourself have put on yourself? So, just give yourself grace and enjoy life. Life is too short for us to constantly be so hard on ourselves. people are passing left and right. And if we don't be careful and if we allow things to overtake us, we won't even be able to enjoy the lives that we were blessed to have. So give yourself grace and have fun. Just live life.
Have fun and live life. You only get
Yeah.
one chance to do it, so make sure it's your best and most happiest life that you can live.
Yes.
Thank you, Alicia, for joining us for the Wealth, Health, and Self-Care Summit. Remember, follow Alicia at the Alicia Shaw on Instagram. And Alicia, is there anywhere else that where people can follow you?
I have a Facebook page as well, and it's the same, the Alicia Shaw on Facebook. Just go over and like my page.
Yes, and I know you have a podcast and books, and I know people probably want to add that to their reading list as well. So can you tell us about those books?
Please do. Yes. So I have 3 anthologies that I published on my own. So the first one was Momming and Queening. Momming and Queening is women, well, mothers getting together and talked about our experiences as moms in this day and age. The kids now have so much access to the things that we didn't have growing up, and it can be a little challenging trying to balance motherhood with technology and the influence that kids have nowadays. So in Mommy and Queening, we just talk about how we're dealing with that and how we're able to cope with all the outside influences. And some of the moms on there were single moms. Some of the moms talk about the battles of being a single mom and trying to raise children. Some of the moms were actually dealing with losing their partner and having to deal with the sadness of losing their partner as well as raising their child. So you'll get different stories on motherhood and what we're experiencing today in Momming and Queening. The second anthology was called Queening: How God Turned Our Stories into His Glory. And that particular anthology were women getting together and talking about how we had to learn to love ourselves and how we hated what we looked like or we had low self-esteem, and it took us a while to get to a place where we were worthy. So we talk about how God used those experiences to make us the women who we are today. So that's Queening, the second anthology. And the third one, which was one released this year, was Wifing and Queening. And that particular one was basically wives getting together and telling you what it's like to be a wife and how we had to maintain our identities still by being someone else's helpmate and being someone else's encourager, and how we wish we had certain advice that no one ever told us about, or how we share the advice that we've gotten from people that were very helpful for being a wife and being in marriages. So that particular anthology was my latest anthology. It was out in April, and that one I loved because I talk about how I learned how to see the Proverb 31 woman in a different light, and it gave me a different perspective on just being a wife and how I'm able to not lose myself in the role as a wife, but be all that God's created me to be in order to be a great person for my husband. So that one had me do a lot of soul searching. So that's why I appreciate that one so much. But yeah, they're mommy and queening, wifing and queening, all available on Amazon, or you can go on my website, which is aliciashavon.com, if you want to get an autographed copy directly from me. And then my podcast is Momming, Wifing, and Queening, and it's available wherever you listen to your podcast. So Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeart Radio, and whatever else is out there, it should be on there.
All right. Well, you know, I have to add your book to my shopping list. I can't wait to dive in. Yes, yes. So thank you so much, Alicia, for joining us for the Wealth, Health, and Self-Care Summit.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
Guess what? We did it. We just wrapped up another Wealth, Health, and Self-Care Summit. I want to thank everyone who participated. If you were in the comments sharing your thoughts with our speakers, give yourself a round of applause. We thank you for participating. It takes a team to bring this together. So we also want to thank our speakers for sharing all of their words of wisdom. Speakers, if you want to leave your Instagram, Facebook, any other social media information or website, please leave those in the comments so that people can reach out to you. I want to thank all of you for joining us, for taking this time out to invest in you. That's what it's all about. We need to be intentional about investing in us and going towards our dreams, because time will fly by. Regardless if we are making moves or not, time will keep going. So you want to set goals. You want to be intentional. You want to make sure that you are making decisions that will make your life better than it is right now. That's what it's all about. Don't forget to sign up for the 3-day investing challenge. There's more. This is not the end. If you want to win some prizes and learn how to save and invest your money, make sure you subscribe to the Wealthy Women Daily YouTube channel below. Help us get our subscribers up if you find this content valuable. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Charlene Reinhardt. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. We will respond to you. But until the next time, keep creating endless opportunities. All right, have a good one, everyone.